All Wings Considered is brought to you by iron. There's an old Kilrathi proverb, steel against iron is not a testing. So get yourself some iron. Now, here's Ben and Jason.
Oh, good thing you thought of that.
Hey everybody, welcome to another exciting episode of All Wings Considered. I am one of your hosts, Loaf, and I am joined as always by another host who is...
Dunderdall?
Hello.
Hello.
I don't know why I pretend I don't know you each other.
Yeah.
Really
I've known you for
meaningless.
a very long time. We're just more excited by the change in our microphone location.
Yes.
And you remembering to do it, because I watched you and I said, oh my god, that's my job, and thankfully you pushed the button.
No, I'm a responsible microphone toucher.
That's not the truth at all, but that's okay. But we are here for another exciting episode on Thursday, March 28th. Thankfully, it says it on the computer because I forgot what day it was for a second.
7 days after the last one.
That's true. It has been 1 week. And in the last week, so what have you been up to this last week?
I was installing this fancy microphone stand so I don't keep hitting it.
Yeah, so we can't even show it off though. But yes, we've made improvements.
So the studio is really developing here.
You guys can't see it, but we've made some substantial improvements in things, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, a small improvement.
Well, it's a big.
We got one of those round things that goes in front of it too. So if like wind, whatever those do,
it's there.
Makes us look like jerks.
I have no idea what it is either, but it's cool when it's there. But yeah. So we're learning to get into the groove of things now, though, you know?
And I see there's already chat in the chat, so hey, everybody, welcome aboard, and let's talk Wing Commander.
Let's do that. Well, first... let's... So, what have you been doing? Just living
my life, man. I built a bunch of big Lego sets. Allie and I for years, we've been just insanely busy at work, and finally we have some downtime. So we keep, like, whenever they put out, like, one of those, like, 5,000-piece Star Wars kits, I shell out for it, and then I put it in the closet. So now we're building a bunch. So we built a huge X-Wing. We built the Flintstones house.
That's a
very large X-Wing.
It's very large. It's what, like maybe 2.5 feet? 2 feet
yeah,
or so?
It's a big X-Wing.
Yeah, it's got to be close to 30 inches long.
And there's nothing to do with them once they're finished.
Yeah, I know. I was looking at it when I was here the other day, and I'm like, that's cool.
Wait till we get to the Star Destroyer.
Oh my, that's going to be huge, I guess.
No, what else did I do that? We saw Us, and this is not a big accomplishment for normal humans, but we've been trying to eat better and work out and walk more, so we actually walked to the theater and saw a movie, which is good.
Oh, there you go. Oh, the one down the street?
Yes, one down the street.
Oddly enough, we both have those at our houses. Like, I have one that I actually discovered. I knew it was down the street, but I actually drove by. It's right next to the Safeway I go to every other day, and I just have never noticed it because it's around the corner. It was weird.
I've been watching a lot of bad movies. I saw one of those, retro vintage tweets that was like the title screens from a bunch of terrible 1980s sci-fi movies.
Okay.
Not even Wing Commander terrible. This is like
terrible.
Battle Beyond the Stars terrible and
truly bad.
I was like, I'm gonna watch all 8 of those, and as I've been watching them, Leha has been coming on the Discord like, you should watch this too. So, winners include something called Starship, something called Warp Speed.
These are just words you use in your everyday life. These aren't movies.
Yeah, no, it's just totally generic.
Movies.
Like, we want to make some money off of Star Wars, but it wasn't at that Asylum level back then. It was still, those set dressers are really putting some care into their terrible movies. So, I've watched like 8 so far, and it's been good.
My God.
No, it's just having a good time. How have you been? What have you been up to? I see you twice a week, so I know.
Yes, yeah. So this is why this segment is always the most difficult for us, because we've just all talked about this, but we're trying not to now. My excitement this week is I went and visited Rock Creek Park for the first time. Went through there. That was quite fancy and nice.
It's a DC tradition.
It is a DC. I never
looking for turtles.
I did not see any turtles, although that's weird you say that, because there's a duck pond by my house that's filled with hundreds of turtles that I always see chilling all the time.
No, back during the Chandra Levy thing where the intern was murdered.
Yeah, right.
The person who found her they were looking for turtles, and I've always wondered, like, what was going on? Yeah, who is the guy who is so dedicated to turtles?
Yeah, because I only went through a corner, so I didn't see any ponds. I just saw the creek itself, and it looked a little too fast moving for turtles for me, to be honest. But yeah, that's been about it. I've continued my addiction to Heart of Iron 4, where I'm doing very well as Japan. I've conquered all of India and Iraq and Iran, so I've got all my oil needs met, and yet I can't seem to invade Hawaii. I even built some nuclear bombs thinking I'm going to show them. And then I realized there's all these other things I need, precursors, before I can drop bombs, like having total air superiority. And the war's in 1946, almost 47, so we're really stretching it out here. But it's one of those games like GTA where you sit down and next thing you know 3 hours has gone by and you don't understand where it just went. It's one of those type games, which is pretty cool.
Civilization.
Yes, totally one more turn type situation.
Yeah. Or FTL. I can put like 1 million rounds of FTL.
Yep.
You don't even feel it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely Heart of Iron it's weirdly complicated yet somehow soothing in a way. I don't really understand it, but yeah. But doing that, just started season 4 of Deep Space Nine, so that's been interesting to start to see things finally happening, as opposed to talking about happening. Now they are happening.
Yeah, you're starting that ramp up, and you're gonna see
like a war happen in one episode, start, finish, and conclusion.
No, you're almost to the point where you're like, oh yeah, I see why everyone stopped caring about Babylon 5 suddenly.
Yeah, I can start to see some of that stuff. Yeah. Other than that, let's see. I bought Steel Division 2 last night because the beta opened yesterday, and I told myself at first, no, I'm going to wait. And then I realized I have no willpower for that. So, yeah.
Have you played it yet? Or are you?
I only play 2. It's very limited so far. It only allows you to do some basic skirmishes and multiplayer games with some pre-built decks. But soon enough, it comes out next month. May. And it's all about Operation Bagration. It's like a real-time strategy game about Operation Bagration, which is the destruction of Army Group Center on the Eastern Front in World War II. So it's lots of T-34s and Panthers and Tigers going at it. So it looked pretty good last time, not going to lie.
Panthers and Tigers, oh my!
That's right, yeah. You like that reference? And it's baseball's opening day.
Happy baseball!
Yeah, the Red Sox are opening in my old city of Seattle, so how weird is the world?
I saw the Orioles lost, so this will maybe not be a year where I follow the Orioles.
Okay. You're more Orioles than...
Oh, yeah. Well, I grew up with the Orioles. We didn't have Nationals when I was growing up.
That's true.
I'm one of those people who, I'm not a big sports guy, but I'm attached to the ones I grew up with. So the Ravens don't mean anything to me. The Nationals don't mean anything to me. They're all things that came after I was
so you have
born,
this weird cross sports fandom of you're pulled north and south.
Yeah, when I was growing up, north was baseball and south was football.
Interesting.
Other way around. No, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right.
No, I was right.
Interesting. Huh. I never would have thought of it like that, but that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, and in fact, back in the day, the Orioles used to have like fan day in D.C. where they would like have all the players sit in one of those circles in the middle of the city and
just come around like they do now with the actual teams from the city.
Yeah, now they don't try.
Now the DC, the Capitals are not the Nationals are probably not feeling it since they lost their big guy to Philadelphia. But other than that, that's been kind of it. I've been catching up on a TV show from 25 years ago.
Well, let's talk Wing Commander then.
That sounds about right. We've done enough of hello, how is your life?
So after weeks and weeks of following social media, because I follow the Wing Commander hashtag, and it's just been a ceaseless Indian and Pakistani fake news robots going back and forth about their Wing Commander who was shot down and then returned, and all these conspiracy theories in both directions. So happily, that has faded away, or I've blocked the entire Indian subcontinent of robots at this point. But
both are possibilities.
Unfortunately, the new Wing Commander trending thing on social media is that it's Wing Commander 3's birthday!
Happy birthday,
It's not Wing Commander 3's birthday. I'm sorry. I
unblow all the candles.
If anybody out there remembers when Wing Commander 3 came out, you got it for Christmas, not...
Easter?
Easter? People didn't get Easter presents back then. That's a new thing.
People get Easter presents now?
Yeah, kids today get it's like Christmas. But Wing Commander 3...
That's another stream from the day.
Wing Commander 3 for the PC, the original Wing Commander 3 was released December 8th, 1994. That's the official Gone Gold date. Distribution wasn't quite what it is now, so people would get it. The stores would get it in the next couple days. So people will remember getting it on December 11th, December 12th. What happened is that Wing Commander 3 for the PlayStation came out 2 years later, March 28th, 1996. So it was the 23rd birthday of Wing Commander 3 for the PlayStation, which is not such an exciting accomplishment.
No.
But what happened was when Electronic Arts put Wing Commander 3 on Origin, their Steam-style service that no one cares about, and they had like a date to fill in for when it was released.
Yeah.
They put, for whatever reason, I mean, they may have taken it from the PlayStation release. They may have just been wrong, and it happened to be the same day the PlayStation 1 came out 2 years later. But they listed the release date as March 28th, 1994. So then we got all these, it's the Gameanniversary of Wing Commander 3. Like, it's not the Gameanniversary. But
Bad research.
the good news is that the Gameanniversary of Wing Commander 3 is coming up, and we will be absolutely celebrating that one
when it actually happens.
When it happens in December. So stay tuned for that. I've already asked people if they're willing to fly in. It's going to be a big party, but it's
really big show.
It's still 9 months away. We can have one baby.
That's right. And we didn't even talk. Yeah, it's finally spring here too. I guess we want to let the world know.
Oh yeah, spring has sprung.
It's finally nice here, although it's rapidly changing.
Now I've blocked out all the bad stuff from the weeks.
Yep.
Because spring sprung.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Yep.
And so did the sewer into our basement.
That's right. Yes. The Lesnick ship started taking a little wee bit of water earlier this week. I didn't mean to bring that one up. I was just thinking about the weather we've had. That's nice, finally, even though it's about to turn into a steamy swamp.
Well, it turned out it wasn't anything we do. We have not been flushing whole chickens or anything that.
I told you.
It was something outside, and the city came, and everyone was very friendly, and everything works again, so we're happy. But everybody's happy. One stressful afternoon.
Yes, that was very sorry. I did not mean to bring up Monday. I forgot about that. I kind of block it.
Totally forgot about that.
Yes. Anyways, but what else is going on with
before we go to our slideshow where all the cool Wing Commander oddities are?
Oh yes, what do you have first for me?
Well, first we have big news this week. Apple gave a very uninteresting presentation about how they're making a credit card and a gaming service. It almost seemed like it was the Apple presentation, last minute. You're like, okay, kids, what do you have for us this week? And well, the iPhone's not ready. We have a credit card. We're going to make a credit card. And it's really just games. They're going to be games.
It's just an Apple gift card that they're hiding that's really from the Apple store. And they're like, yes, it's our credit card. Thanks. Don't we have enough credit cards?
So at least there were all these headlines like, Apple's getting into games, which is like the 17th time that's happened. Yeah. Wasn't there a Game Center on the phone a while ago? I don't know what the difference between the new thing is.
I think I'm the official CIC Mac gamer, and I can tell you that there's only 7 of them that I play.
Well, so I brought this out to prove that Apple has been in games for a long time.
Yes.
This is the most 1990s thing you can ever see. This is the Extreme Fun Pack.
Well, if it was you can tell that's early to mid 90s because it still has the E and it hasn't dropped just to the X.
This is like a 96 or 97.
Yeah, because I think in 97, 98 is when they really start to go extreme in the X Games and all of that stuff.
So this is an actual
my God, that guy's
game bundle published by Apple. This isn't Electronic Arts. This is Apple licensing a bunch of games and publishing them. And
I own most of them.
Well, what's in here? We've got Marathon 2, Durandal,
but that's okay. I like how you can pronounce it by me.
Yeah. Flight Unlimited, that was a neat game.
That's okay.
Metalmorph, I've never heard of, but we're going to talk about a very similarly named game in just a minute.
I think Metalmorph, is that some side scroller or some weird thing, right?
It looks like it's a top-down-ish kind of a quasi-isomorphic.
Okay, that's weird.
Nothing like describing a screenshot when I can just show it to everybody.
I don't know what that one is.
Of course, we got Wing Commander 3.
Yep.
Panzer General. Diamonds 3D.
Oh, Jesus.
And there's valuable coupons inside.
So, hey. For what?
So let me just open this guy up
and see what it looks like. Are.
If there are coupons in there at all.
I will be glad. We have plenty of extra desk space today.
Oh, it's
this
got
is
a
also.
cardboard box.
You can also tell how classic it is. It uses the old Apple logo.
Oh, they're back now. Now they're back to retro.
True story. I once tried to make that in Woods class as a just the shape of the apple as a keychain holder for my dad. Yeah. Let's just say he broke all the keychain things off, and I think it just is a paperweight now.
You need an awe button, Nick.
It's really
time you carved an Apple thing for your dad.
Well, I had to use a bandsaw and stuff like that. He was just like, "This is not your best work at all," and I was like, "Thank you, Dad."
So here we've got a piece of paper that simply says special offers.
That's very 90s.
And I was just talking to Joe Garrity about how incredibly tight the Origin packaging budgets were in 1991.
Yeah.
Everybody's always like, oh, why weren't there blueprints or tchotchkes or something in Wing Commander 2? It's because it had so many discs and there was X budget and they were very short of money at that specific time. So but apparently we have room for Special offers.
Okay. Put that back for it. What's next? Business reply to the kids.
Yep. Here's
Registration
the quality questionnaire.
I remember those.
Yeah. They would like to know about that.
Hey,
here's one for Keenan.
Yeah. That's got his name all over it.
It's an ad for Computer Game Strategy Plus with the silencer.
And some
we got Wing Commander 4 on the back too.
Yeah, that's right.
That's pretty cool.
Banshee
it's
in
a
there.
winner of a special offer.
This is like a pre-cargo bay. What is that? A letter from Apple.
A letter from Apple about our amazing software.
Hello.
What do we have here?
Oh, geez.
Other offers we can get.
Yes, it's about who cares? It's about learning software.
Learning software.
Yeah.
Update great programs.
Yeah, that's...
Oh, here we can see the other offers. So there's
so
the Extreme Fun Pack.
Yeah, those were all the silly learning games.
And then the other learning games. So if your parents got you anything but the Extreme Fun Pack,
they didn't like you.
Yeah, they didn't like it.
Your parents, they have something to talk about.
God, my mom got me math games for my Apple II when I was a kid because she didn't think I was good at math.
That one, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good. That's a sexy fellow.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm talking like this, but yeah, Thrustmaster.
Yeah, and they got the wheel. I had the wheel
on the back.
That's the same stick set we will be using to play Super Wing Command. Ooh.
When our Mac gets here.
When the Mac gets here.
Oh, and competition. Here is the CH Products alternative.
Oh,
ad.
You know what's interesting in this? It has the FCS for $129.95, but then the rudder controls are $139.95. I'm guessing because of the addition of a few pieces of metal.
Those rudders are pretty big.
Yeah, they're pretty. I mean, you're not breaking them.
Here we have the Topps NFL Cyber cards, which there was that brief period a couple years ago where Topps was really doing digital trading cards, and I guess they must have tried back then. But there's a $5 rebate. You don't spend that all in one time.
Oh boy.
Inside Mac Games.
Oh, there you go. I used to be a subscriber to that.
That's a tough one to find these days.
It is. It's extremely tough because it was a CD-only magazine, so there was no print. It was all files on the CD, and it came with game demos and
product
patches.
registrations.
Mac
Home magazine.
Oh, look at that, though. Look what Bungie's doing for the fans, huh?
Oh, wow. Bungie would like to tell you could win 128 megs of RAM.
That's the giveaway.
That is an insane amount of RAM.
Especially in 1997.
Yeah, that would have been a lot.
Yeah. I don't even know what this is about from. Oh, mags you read, and it lists all the mags of the day.
EA product prescription.
Yeah, we know you.
Okay, we're getting to the book. Okay, here's a...
Hey, you.
Okay, here's one with, 90s, cool marketing speak. Hey, you. It's obligatory.
Hey.
About me. Got a read me.
Age, sex, location.
That's some classic Apple packaging.
Yep. Apple loves a good old read me. Although...
Just
cool readmes was on Mac games used to say, "Do not read this. Never read this file." That was their big.
And here we have a folder of CD-ROM discs.
That is a.
And we got the Wing Commander 3 manuals in there.
Yeah, that's Marathon
too. And then all these diskettes.
Oh, look at that!
So I pulled that out of the collection in honor of
that
Mac. I dropped a copy of Launch Magazine.
I've never even heard of that. That does not ring.
It was that brief period in 95 to 97 where everybody wanted to have a multimedia magazine, but no one had any original ideas.
Yes. Well, that's what was so cool about Inside Mac Games was that I don't remember any other CD-ROM only subscription mags like that.
Yeah, I know. I remember I had one of the issues way back when, and I was so frustrated because you couldn't read it on a PC.
Yeah, because it's a Mac CD. Yeah.
All right, so
I used to have all of them. My dad said, though, unfortunately, they are long gone. You are a few years late asking.
It's too bad.
Yeah, well, he was, he saved a lot of his old software and hardware stuff. Yeah,
because every time I mention any piece of hardware, you're like, oh, my dad has one of those.
Yeah.
Look at it, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because when you guys went
I'm doing Watto there, but...
When you guys went to Mythic, it was like, we need this weird old...
SideQuest.
I almost said Sequest. The old SideQuest drive, and I'm like, oh, my dad has one of those. And it was like, oh, okay, done. We don't want to buy one, but yeah, that's right, yeah. A lot of hardware exchanges.
Well, if y'all remember last week, I was kind of like manically thinking of things during the show, and I kept shouting out like, "Hey, Trelane, remember this for next week?"
Yes.
And the good news is I've remembered all the things.
Yes.
And we're going to look at them in the slideshow viewer and some other random Wing Commander stuff I experimented with in the week.
Science.
Everybody keep getting messages like, "Oh, we love the random stuff." I'm like, well,
it's all random.
It's all random. No.
It is.
So let's go over to the Afterburner slideshow.
One day we'll get an afterburner sound for that.
Yeah, I'm going to ask my sister if she can do a much better graphic than the one we have.
I thought you were going to say much better sound, and I was going to punch you. That sounded like
you could do that, too.
That sounds like an afterburner lighting up, right?
So one of...
No,
that was a terrible segue.
It was awful. What is this?
So, where do we start? Atomic batteries to power. Last week we were talking about the Wing Commander 3 takeoff scene, and I was like, oh, that's in fact this guy right here.
Yes.
And I was
were we talking this on the show, or was this afterwards?
I think it was before. We were trying to think of like a checklist we could do, and you were like, oh, we could do this. And I was like, no, actually, that's a Batman reference.
Yeah, that's right. We're always trying to come up with something, because, the start of our show is always...
It takes a minute to get into the groove.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of our favorite things. I think one of our favorite things to do is, like, when we do our promos, we do all these ridiculous takes, and then usually the most ridiculous one is the best, and that's usually when we're all ready to go, and it takes us a few minutes to do this, so we're like, we need to have a pre-show, like, and first few minutes routine, and I'm like, we can do this, and he's like, no, it's a rip-off of something else. So out the window that went, but we are taking ideas.
So that reminded me I would share. So
yes, that's how this whole started.
So I went to the Blu-rays of Batman 1966 Batman television series, and I found the first time it's used. It's the atomic batteries to power turbines to speed. It's what Robin says when they're getting the Batmobile ready. So get ready for a copyright strike courtesy of 20th Century Fox, which I guess no longer exists. Those were the days.
Can you see those
atomic batteries to power?
It's a common one for people to do.
around here? So
Need to move up.
You know, we have around here. We have the question mark guy. The you'll see him if you like do stuff in Silver Spring.
Okay.
The infomercial guy who has question marks all over his suit, and he wants to tell you how to save money from the government.
Oh yeah. I oh god, what is that? It's your money. Have it now. That's the other guy.
No, that's the other guy.
That's JG whatever.
JG Wentworth.
Yeah, I didn't want to use his name to give unless give us money. And then the question mark guy with the government programs you can get money from. Yeah, okay. I remember.
Yeah, 10 or 15 years ago, he drove one of those square toaster-looking things that was orange with question marks all over it, so you'd see it all over the place.
Hey, whatever works.
So that got me thinking.
Yep.
There's actually a second reference in the Wing Commander 3 Takeoff, which is when you cheat. When you cheat in Wing Commander 3.
Who cheats?
So people, I cheated a lot back in the day because it would take 10 minutes on my 486 to load a mission.
Yeah.
So you did not want to risk dying.
That's true.
So if you cheated, you ran at the command line WC3-Mitchell, and the scene would play, the takeoff would play like this. Mitchell! Ha-ha!
Oh, yes, I noticed a huge difference.
There was a soundbite over it that said Mitchell.
Oh, we can't hear that. We don't use that.
So the sound clip and the joke is from Mystery Science Theater 3000, an episode from season 5, I think, that had aired in late 93. Mm-hmm. And it is where that sound clip is from. It's them riffing the movie Mitchell, which was a Joe Don Baker starring cop movie where he's just kind of a lumpy, awkward cop. And it's one of their famous episodes. It's the one that it's Joel's last episode and Mike's first one. But I watched through the episode. I found the specific scene where they take that sound clip, and here you go. It's on YouTube, by the way, if you want to watch the entire episode. It's a really good
Joe
one.
Don Baker is Mittens. He's a cop.
Mithril. Oh, wait, it's Mitchell.
Oh, the Martha Mitchell story.
Joe Don Baker is Martha Mitchell.
Yes. It's Bigfoot.
Who's the puffy guy who's the big blurry sex machine?
Mitchell.
That Mitchell is one fat.
Shut your mouth.
Just talking about Mitchell.
All right. Random enough for you?
Interesting.
We're just getting started.
Oh, man, I can see the next list of items coming up.
Oh, yeah. So one of the other things I did over the week was I finally started ripping DVDs, and I have a pile here in the office that are Wing Commander referential DVDs.
Okay.
And so I figured, I'll clip out the little segments and share them with you because they're all wonderful and ridiculous.
Yes.
But, I've got a pile. Here we go.
Let's say, where did I see these wonderful things? Would you like me? Oh, I will.
Oh, so first off, we've got
a classic. Right, these are two titans of
entertainment
of their time.
We've got
not really relevant so much. Well, one of them is really not relevant today. The other one really wants to work. So much so that Washington posted an article called "Someone Hire Chevy Chase."
So the Walt Disney Chevy Chase / Jonathan Taylor Thomas vehicle from I've written this down March 1995.
Excuse me, the love interest is also one Farrah Fawcett.
So I have never actually managed to sit through the movie of this movie.
Oh, I've seen this. It's terrible.
But as far as I understand it, they're kind of in a Home Alone-esque battle for who is the real man of the house. He's the new husband, or she's something.
They're both competing to be the alpha of their mother, or of his mother.
Of Farrah Fawcett.
Of Farrah Fawcett, yes. And they go through a fake Boy Scouts, and it's...
Oh, yeah, I saw they went to camp when I was speeding through it.
Yes, there is a camp scene, there's all those things.
But there is a scene in there where Chevy Chase...
from Cheers.
George Wendt.
Norm
from... No, there's a scene where Chevy Chase comes to have a heart-to-heart with his son.
I think this is...
And watch what the son is doing.
I think this is...
while that happens.
The first third of the film, this scene is?
No, this is actually later in the film, because
really?
it's after the camping stuff.
Oh, doesn't he come in... There's not a scene earlier in the film when he comes in and he's doing this in the computer in, like, the kitchen or something?
He's played an arcade game where he's playing like Street Fighter or something.
Okay.
This is the second one, the one we care about.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I remember this. He's sitting at the desk playing.
We're really teaming this
I remember
up,
when this came out. This is a huge deal.
Look, he seems to be playing a game, but he's actually at the mission select in Academy.
Yeah.
So I don't know why he's got his joystick wiggling.
Well, you know.
But this is Wing Commander Academy in a film, and just keep watching.
I know you're...
Chase is here. Son, I'm sorry, I'm not the real man of the house. You are.
But my name's Clark.
Look,
hey!
Now he's at a nav point flying a Morning Star.
Yeah.
But it was a clear nav point. There were no asteroids. And keep watching.
Well, I give you my word.
He's using kind of a crappy stick.
Nothing's going to interfere with it.
It's the CH products.
We're going to have the best time we've ever had.
My point stands.
Okay?
Burn.
Yeah, come on, I remember the Switch. Where is it? Okay. Show the screen, because there's a better shot of the screen at one point.
Here we go. It is.
Yeah, he's playing a very bad, like a crappier.
There, he's in an asteroid field,
yep.
And if you pause it, you can see that it's at the end of a mission. It's the right VDU is saying end of simulation. So.
Yeah, I definitely I remember that being a very, very big deal when it was released, and we all noticed because that went around the old forums and the news group and IRC.
Yeah, I got a couple years ago. I went back and I was like, okay, what are all these ones that were referenced? And now we're going to see them all right now.
Oh.
And also from Walt Disney.
Yeah, Walt Disney.
Even less prestigious, if it's possible.
100%. This is a movie I have seen chunks of, but never the whole vehicle, and that would be Rocket Man.
Rocket Man, and it's
headlined by
who is that guy? Because it's not French Stewart. It's like a discount French Stewart.
Yes, it's his name is Harland Williams.
Okay, all right,
and yeah, I love it. It says comedian Harland Williams, Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, that's the guy who's known for Dumb and Dumber. If there's one comedian who is famous for being in the movie Dumb and Dumber, it's this guy.
Yeah, who the hell is he in Dumb and Dumber? I'm trying to think. Oh, no, because he's not. That's the guy.
He's neither in Dumb and Dumber.
Everybody remembers Seabass from Dumb and Dumber, man.
Did you just see that the U.S. government has taken the IP rights for the sequel to Dumb and Dumber because they were made with like scammed money? That I saw that news this week.
I saw that.
That was
May I just read this one line?
Please.
It's at the end of it, but it says, after that, it's T-minus a reality check as Fred blasts off with the rest of the space shuttle crew. A cocky, no-nonsense commander, a sexy mission specialist, and a mischievous chimp named Ulysses.
So as you can probably determine from the name of the movie and whatever that just was,
it's crappy.
He's a low-level workaday scientist at NASA, and
he's going to Mars.
He has to go to space because the hero astronauts he worships are like, you got to help us, but he's a nerd, and how can a nerd go to space? And it's That's
this
the
is
premise
one,
for this.
I
thing.
remember this. This is the screenshot of like the one joke I remember. It's like the fart joke because they're attached with the tube, and the French Stewart guy farts, and then it like they try not to have it go from one suit to the other, and then it does, and he gets all grossed out.
They had writers back then. Anyway, this is the very start of the movie. He's going to work, and he parks, and he's got like he has an awesome car, but it's supposed to be a nerd car. He's got a Citroën deux Chevaux, which is weird in the United States. And you see he's this awkward nerd guy, and then he goes into his office, and here's what happens. Aren't I good at setting stuff up?
You're amazing.
Thank you. Oh, he doesn't even see the cool space heroes in back of him.
Oh, I remember who he is. He's like, guy. That's right. He drinks pee or something.
5 minutes till the official workday starts.
But look, we got absolutely right about discount French Stewart.
Yeah, Look at that talent he's got.
Oh!
Whoa!
Die! Get back
He is
to your own
the
planet,
worst
you
Oh,
Wing Commander 4 player ever.
Watch how Wing Commander 4 ends. But he blows up a Vindicator and he's shouting, "Die, you bug-eyed aliens!" And they've got like a Windows screensaver, just game over to go over the end.
Wow.
So
that's different.
I'd like to have seen you load Wing Commander 4 that quickly. He apparently does
Look
not
how tall
understand
his
the
tower
lore.
is, though.
Yeah.
His tower is very big. It must have lots of processors in there, right? That's what my assumption is.
Yeah. So
moving along.
Hollywood movie magic.
Yeah, although I don't know what type joysticks those. They look like CHs, I think.
Yeah, it looked like they
couldn't
took a
afford
couple of
those.
CHs. But it kind of presages the modern two-stick space flight thing, because that's what everybody's into now for like Elite and Star Citizen is 2 sticks.
Oh, written what? Not one thrutter?
Yeah, they know.
I mean,
but they're
What
thrutter.
One thrutter.
Which plane is a thrutter?
What the hell? I don't even know where that came. They have, instead of using a throttle, they use 2 sticks.
Yeah, because for 6 degrees of freedom.
No, I gotcha, but
yeah, it wouldn't work with Wing Commander.
No,
and it was not designed for that. But
it wouldn't be. I don't always like that.
So our next movie is a little bit later.
A little bit. That looks rather new.
This is 2004.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna lie to you, we got a lot of Dolph Lundgren right here.
Oh.
This is the movie Retrograde.
It's Ivan Drago.
Now this does not have a Wing Commander game appearance in it.
Oh.
But watch this, and you'll see why it's kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. That's our MO here.
That right.
Snow is exploding. I left a little bit at the start so you can see the
You need some
snow.
context. It's a lot of
snow exploding.
Why is it just the scene itself? Is just snow exploding?
No, we're gonna cut to the scene itself.
Oh, it's the opening of the film.
Yeah, we're at the very opening of the film, and the snow turns to fire because we're jumping ahead in time to
2204.
Los Angeles 2204, and look where
Nice briefcase.
Oh yeah, here's Dolph holding his best Blade Runner.
Then
look at this! This movie was apparently, or this scene of this movie, was apparently filmed in the hangar in Luxembourg.
Yeah, say that.
So there's the movie Wing Commander movie armor. They just took the leftover props
and just slapped them on some other story,
Yeah.
and voila, huh?
So we've got Wing Commander marine armor, and it's all the rapiers are just sitting here.
I was gonna say, yeah, what's that weird object?
Bloodlines and blood ones mutate.
That's the end. That's the end part of the rapier.
burn.
That's
The
the
tail.
but
Yeah,
there you go. See.
Yeah,
and mass
okay.
grades.
So when
Interesting.
the Wing Commander movie was shot in a warehouse in Luxembourg, and they just left all this stuff in place. There've been urban explorers in the recent years who have gone and said, "Oh yeah, there's still this stuff there." But they also apparently shot the film Retrograde there.
To combat the effects
And
of this
the
deadly
majority of this,
off-world
and we
bacteria.
end this scene with some Confederate Marines throwing bodies into a fire.
That's what that. I thought
Time.
those were, that's bodies.
Yeah.
running out.
That's not how you usually. Okay.
See, there's a plague in the future, and
Okay. I guess so.
the rest of the movie takes place in the past on an Arctic exploration ship. So that's the only scene where you see
The future of
the future.
2204. 200 years in the future.
Yeah.
I like how they did that math real easy too.
So yeah, that's the movie Retrograde,
All right.
and
I don't want to hold. You can just set this one.
Yeah, I put it
I don't
on
need
file.
that one. No, this is now. I remember this.
okay.
I remember this is a thing that existed.
Yes, I got this recently because I was putting
That
this
looks
off.
fancy,
I was
yeah.
putting this off. It's actually not fancy. It's by VEI, which is the company that put out Wing Commander Academy,
Uh-huh.
and they put out very cheap DVD sets. So
Yeah.
While it's Viper, by the way, Viper.
Viper, yeah, sorry.
The mid-90s syndicated
about the fancy car that no
copy
one
of Knight Rider.
Yeah. That...
So once you actually open it, it's just a big clamshell.
Oh, okay. It looked cooler with the case around it.
And then when you actually open that, it doesn't even have...
Oh, jeez.
It's just like floppy.
Cheap as plastic.
Yeah.
It's like we got these big plastic boxes for old videotapes or Betamax. Can we repurpose them for DVDs somehow?
So this is a weird one.
It's a weird show in general.
Weird show in general. I mean, there was... People were buying sci-fi in the early 90s.
I mean, do you notice how there's not a single actor... There's not even... Oh my god, there's not even actor reference on the back.
Yeah, what actor do you associate with Viper?
I don't know. Who the hell was even in it? I figured it would tell me.
But somehow Viper lasted for 4 years. 3 of them in broad syndication. And...
oh my god.
I would never have thought to do anything with this, but I found an old Point of Origin where it was Origin's internal newsletter, and it mentioned that the producer of Viper had reached out to Origin for a copy of Privateer.
Okay.
And they said, "Oh, sure, we'll send one to you for free," you know. And they didn't expect anything to come of it. But then they watched the 4th episode of the show, which is called Ghost, and 2 things. Here's the first one.
Okay.
Activate phone. 001.
This is not the guy who drives Viper. It's his friend.
Privateer!
It's the Privateer intro. The cool 90s dude who's the owner of Viper.
Sure.
Playing the Privateer intro. Which, that's a cool little thing, I guess.
So why is he doing that? Well,
He's right on my butt
in the
now.
middle of this
Stay
suburban
cool.
Dodge
I'm coming to give you a hand.
Well, this guy he's
Hold
getting
on,
chased
Joe.
by somebody.
I changed my mind.
And
I
he's
think I can
calling on
handle
his
myself.
amazing futuristic car
Julian.
phone.
I said I
And
can
he's
handle
like,
it.
will you help me,
Deactivate
Viper?
phone.
And Viper's like, I'll be right there. And then this guy decides,
Julian.
never mind.
We might as well.
Ah! It's Ranger Marcus.
It's Ranger Marcus who is chasing.
Oh,
He's
you kept that one a
chasing
secret
Viper's friend.
from me, huh?
Yeah, you were like,
Oh.
what actors are in this? What possible actor could we see?
Well, that tells me everything I need to know that Jason Carter is in this.
It gets a little bit... He's on 90210, by the way. He's
my God.
He's an evil drama teacher who I think seduces Kelly or Brenda.
Of course he does with his sexy British locks and accent.
Yeah.
I'm shocked
So
by that.
that alone would be interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
for 7 people.
Sure.
18 people, I hope. But then...
And it seems weird to look around. It's hard to get used to.
Yeah, we've got a mic right in between us
That's
now.
why I look like I'm like always looking over because I'm trying to see on his screen so I can see our live shot as opposed to the scream out.
So here's the reason why I bought an entire 4 seasons of Viper, because this gets weirder.
Sales
so
10 copies.
So the guy escapes from Ranger Marcus, and he goes to his wife and is like, something happened at work, and well, we have to have dinner with our friends and their new boyfriend. And here's the weirdest thing:
they're playing Privateer together on their good home.
No, these are completely separate characters. The ones who were playing Privateer earlier.
Mom, just about to enter the Chamber of Doom. We have company, Ron. Oh, hi, Anna. Hi.
No, don't tell me. This must be
the boyfriend is Ranger Marcus.
Look at that giant joystick. And he's got Privateer.
Oh,
get it. Oh, no, he's got a dinosaur.
He's got a dinosaur for the one kid.
But she has a crappy joystick.
For me.
Is it going to turn into a Thrustmaster?
And this must be Ronnie. As splendid as her mother, and as smart as her father.
Oh my God,
Look,
is that
Mom,
Privateer? Oh my God, it is!
Privateer.
Oh, this is much too generous.
Look at these kids are so happy to have Privateer.
Oh,
You couldn't hear it, but the kid says something like, it's the latest version of Privateer.
No,
because Viper is set in the near future, so it's like 2020 or something. So apparently in this version of reality, they've just been releasing Privateer over and over, and it looks exactly the same.
But
they really... The producer who requested that must have really loved Privateer, because they...
Twice
in unrelated characters. The latest edition of Privateer.
Yeah, because why would you have it playing on the screen? I guess they just needed something on the screen to look busy, and why not let the intro ride, right?
Yeah, and like what a coincidence that he happened to have a sealed copy of Privateer in his bag for the little girl who ran out with a
joystick,
CH Products flight stick.
Yeah, that was a crappy joystick.
And so those were the various movies that I ripped.
Well, that was a tornado of excitement.
Mm-hmm.
I was not
Thrilling.
I was not expecting Ranger Marcus.
Oh, we're just getting started.
Oh, I know.
No, I mean, we're just halfway through.
No, we're not even out of small talk yet. No, we're
I had a lot of small talk.
There is a lot of small talk this week because you undertook something that I know, and you say, there should be a spreadsheet for that. That within an hour, there will be a spreadsheet.
I am kind of a fan of spreadsheets, and last week's show, I said I was going to work on an end run spreadsheet. I will say I haven't finished it, but it's in progress, and it just keeps getting more elaborate. So here we go. I'm tracking the ships in end run, what kills are scored, what missions, who's killed in action on the Tarawa, where the Tarawa is, and I'm referencing it all out, and I will share that with the community if anyone in the world cares. But the promised spreadsheet is in the works.
Always is there. Always.
So this next one got a bit of an interactive component to it, because this is a conversation I had on Twitter that really surprised me. A couple days ago,
it was intelligent.
I am good at Twitter. I'm like the reverse president.
Oh, I see.
More people should follow me. It's just all dumb jokes in Wing Commander, and that's all you need in life.
True.
So I posted this picture, which I'd grabbed because I was playing around with Special Operations 2 from the intro, because it's a good Zen moment from Angel. And somebody replied to me, and they said, it's weird that Angel is wearing her helmet in the comm room. And
that's true.
Well, I replied, I said, wait, no, she's flying the ship that Tractor's in Jazz. And that was how I assumed it was?
Yeah.
How did you see that scene?
When Jazz ejects, he's staring at him, and then she swoops him with that, and then her saber comes in and scoops him up the tractor beam, and they fly away.
That's what I thought too, and that's what I've thought for many years. But it's not the case. I went back and first I watched the scene from Wing Commander 2. Here, watch.
Damn you, Captain! Damn you to hell!
By the way, it was a lot of fun to get that video.
Oh, I can only imagine how.
Nailed you, bastard. Good night, Coulson.
No, please don't kill me, please.
Absolutely. Mercy went out the door with my career 10 years ago. It's Louisiana's swamp. Blair.
You need me to prove your innocence. I can.
It's from Kansas, by the way. Not an option, Jazz. Oh, so somebody. Just as is decided in the court call sign, look with particle cannons.
20 minutes later.
You do think it was her, except. So it seemed like. It was a saber, first of all. Good work, sir.
Yep.
Now here's this following conversation, which is with your debriefing is with Sparks for some reason. I heard you brought Jazz back, Cap. You brought Jazz back. Security's saying they found a flight recorder disc in Jazz's quarters. It proves that Kilrathi stealth fighters destroy the Tiger's Claw.
Tall's not said anything about it to me.
That's Blair's version. Captain, the man's got other things on his mind. Like the fact that we're getting close to Katithrak Mang. Another few hours and it'll be over, one way or another. So next I looked up the Wing Commander 1 and 2 Ultimate Strategy Guide by Mike Harrison to see how that described it. And sure enough, he says player character tractored in Jazz.
See, that's not how it seems, though, because it goes to that shot outside, and it looks like a saber swooping in front of you to take away the ejection pod.
So I realized that we've been seeing it in that light all these years, but it was not intended at all by the scene. She's supposed to be contacting you from the comm room, and it's supposed to be that Blair decides to tractor in Jazz, and I was trying to figure out, why is this like a universal thing that so many people believe this?
Because it's just how, for me, it's just simply how the scene plays out. You see her helmet, then you see it cut away, so you just assume that, Well,
I think I found the culprit.
Oh.
Mark Manasseh's Secrets of the Wing Commander Universe. he has this running joke. This is an unofficial guide, but it covers Wing Commander 1 and 2 and Privateer and Academy.
Yep.
He has this running joke in here about how Angel is a, quote, prig, and he, like, makes fun of her constantly. And the one of the moments of this is that he says, oh, an Angel swoops in and tractors him in, what a prig. And back in the day, you couldn't just load up Wing Commander 2 so easily. I would have read this hundreds of times.
Yeah, and just thought...
And I assumed that was right. So I think that's where that came from.
But I never had that and read that, and I'm not sure I would have just seeing it. It just comes off as Angel doing, because you see the helmet, and again because the shot is so far away too that it looks like she's swooping in to get him from out of your guns.
And by the way, I loaded up Special Operations 2 to get the intro video just to compare it, and that was an interesting result. Blah blah blah. Here. This is the flight recorder they're watching in court. No, I can give you the names of the Mandarin leaders. They're Kilrathi contacts. Notice anything about that? It's not what he actually said in Wing Commander 2. Anything! He just begs for his life in Wing Commander 2. So they changed his dialogue to set up for the fact that there are Mandarin contacts in the game. Justice is decided in court, not with particle cannons. So, and they swap it, because in Wing Commander 2, that line is after he's picked up. So
no, and I thought it was before.
No, in actual Wing Commander 2, it's after. It's the saber swoop and then her. I think.
No, I thought it was...
Damn you, Captain! Damn you to hell!
This isn't television. It's Compellivision.
Yeah.
By the way, isn't it odd that people can have their own made-up TV shows today? Like, this is a weird future we live in.
Yeah. This used to, just get out the camcorder, go to the basement, and show your parents things like, how long is this I gotta sit through?
Yes.
And they would pleasantly do so for a short amount of time, and then...
Yeah, you wait. I think you'd wait for them to like have their family over, or your friends over.
Well, you wait till you wait till you're.
See, look, the tractors, and then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
So that was the weird thing through it. It's one of those things where I just assumed it worked that way, and then actually looking at it,
you never think about it.
So another perspective from somebody is a pretty useful thing to have.
It's kind of like one of those things where it's like you reread your own writing over and over again, and you're auto-correcting it without realizing it. Then you read it out loud, and you're like, "Whoa, what is going on? I did not mean to say that." And that's almost the same thing. We're just running with it because that's what we've always thought it was.
So hopefully one thing we can do in this show is get our predetermined notions out the door and just think about stuff.
Sorry, Angel was not the hero there. Blair.
She was just calling Blair to taunt him,
yeah.
After he'd already made the right call.
Yeah. That's right. After he's made... Thanks, Angel. Getting that last in there.
So here's another one that we mentioned last show that I wanted to share. First of all, just to refresh your memory, here's the Privateer jump scene, which you've all seen many times.
Yep.
That galaxy, this is one I recorded for our jump bit.
That's us.
Whoosh. Yeah, that's us.
I mean, that's us. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's our galaxy.
So here is the intro to a game called Metalmorph. Metalmorph was an Origin game for the Super Nintendo, developed by the team Billy Kane was producer of, that did a bunch of Ultima conversions, and then this was the last project before I think Ultima Savage Empire for the SNES, which was only released in Japan, and Wing Commander 2, which was never released. So this was a game, and I remember him telling a story about how he thought he would be fired because this game was so bad. But it was actually, they took him into to Richard's office or whoever's office and said, actually, this game is the reason we're in the black this quarter, so congratulations. So this was the kind of thing that you could do to rely on income while you were developing big, impressive games that were riskier. You would make something like this simple side-scroller. But I recorded the intro because, well, you'll see why when it happens.
Yep. You'll see it. You'll know it when you see it.
And, I mean, this is not a game anyone remembers, but beautiful 90s sci-fi art, SNES art.
Yeah, it looked pretty good.
Yeah. Gravita Trillane says this game sure looks like a blockbuster SNES rental, and
yeah, this is not going to be near the top shelf, I guess.
It's under M for Metalmorph.
Yeah. Oh, look at this! What could be happening? Oh! Hey, let's see.
There we go.
That one few frames.
So,
That jump we all know and love.
And I love the stuff in this game. Like, none of this story makes sense at all. The Metallion has escaped, and you are the What's a Metallion? And you're going to the Peace Planet, and the alien ambassadors are here. Alien ambassadors await your arrival. Oh, they shot you.
And you're dead. Well, that seems like some bad diplomacy.
You begin to recover from your surprise attack and find you're in an alien test laboratory. This is like every 1994 trope together. Realizing the tests on your body have already begun, you quickly decide that escape is the only option.
Okay.
That's dramatic.
Yeah, I mean, what else would you do? First duty of the prisoner is to escape, so...
Well, watch how he escapes. How's he gonna get out of this one?
Oh, he's an Odo?
He's an Odo!
Oh my god, he's a founder. Look at that. I knew that because I've seen DS9.
There's the Metalmorph Control Center.
What the hell?
Well, that was Metalmorph, a game that no one remembers, but is kind of neat and has some art from Privateer.
Wow.
Yes.
Anyways.
Anyways.
Well then. We've taken quite the side trip there. How can you circle us back now?
Well, this is something I was just thinking about the other day, and I don't necessarily have any answers yet, but I thought I'd go through it.
Okay.
Is I was Doomsday.
Hey guys.
I was thinking about his tattoos.
Do you like my tattoos?
So he's Maori. Is that what we looked this up before? Maori. Maori.
Yes, Maori. You like Valerie except with an M. Yes, that's right.
That's how we remembered it.
Yes.
So I was thinking, is there some like sociological background to what's the history of this?
Yep.
Because first of all, I noticed that between Wing Commander 1 and 2, they do keep his tattoos pretty consistent.
That's pretty close, yeah.
They do change them totally for Super Wing Commander.
Yeah. That's actually probably more like the actual real life tattoos.
Yeah, so I did some reading on the actual real life tattoos, and they're called Tomoko, and apparently in the 16th century, when Captain Cook arrived, they immediately fascinated the British. So they've been kind of like a thing ever since then. The symbol of this strange culture in New Zealand.
Yep.
And in the 20th century, they kind of fell out of practice. So it was only starting around 1990 when Wing Commander, months around when Secret Missions 2 came out, that they kind of became popularized again. And it's not so much traditional needle tattooing. It's more of chiseling into your face.
Yeah, it's not. It's an interesting thing.
And they do indeed have specific meanings. I have not read enough to determine if there's any meaning behind Doomsday or figure out what reference was used for his face. But it shows your lineage, your rank in the tribe, and your knowledge, and so on. So I grabbed a couple pictures from Wikipedia to show you. It's one of the early sketches from someone visited there. And then here's actual folks with the same kind of tattoos as Doomsday.
You can kind of see too how it's carved into the skin there. It's pieces are removed.
Mm-hmm. And I found this website, which I'll share in the comments, which shows what all the specific parts of the face mean. What shows your mother's heritage, what shows your father's heritage, what shows your education, and so on.
So it's kind of like your family history.
Yeah.
It's like your biography on your face, essentially.
So I'd love to find somebody who actually can... someone with actual historical knowledge of that and what we might learn about Doomsday's history from his face. But
that was not. I'm trying to. That was. I think that was part of one of my anthropology classes, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah, I didn't find any good. Mostly, I found references from people if you want to get a tattoo like this, don't, because it would be very racist of you. And and then there were a bunch of if you want to get a tattoo like this, here's how. So that's pretty much the internet.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
So one of the big things we promised in our very exciting promo was that we were going to share some ships that were cut from Wing Commander 2.
It was the best promo ever.
Was our best promo ever.
They're always the best.
And it taught us that we needed to reinforce the desk more, because when I hit it, it shakes. And then,
when you scream in excitement.
Ah! Yep. But look, I can hit the desk and it does not bounce so much.
Just the microphone.
Just the microphone. Yeah, they probably can't notice that because it was so high-tech and
fancy mounted.
What Allie figured out, my wife... you all know my wife. She advertises steel for this company. Iron. All right, well, iron against steel is not a testing. She realized our monitors were they're on a tripod base, and the third pod is like hanging down. So when I shake this rickety desk, it shook everything. So they're better now.
There you go.
We can shake and excite.
We can always add a support one day or something in the back.
So I have, through a combination of things, found you 4 ships that were cut from Wing Commander 2. Many of them appeared in other ways in other places, but there's a document that we've titled the Wing Commander 2 Ship Codex that's in the University of Texas's video game library, and we went and photographed it, and it's cool because it has like the hand-drawn notes like cut and removed and then renaming ships, and it's really interesting.
So it's the stuff you want to know behind the process.
Yeah. So there were 4 ships that were cut from the initial version of Wing Commander 2, and they were all ones that had art assets in the folder that Captain Johnny had posted years ago, and here they are in order from least to most interesting. So this is the Confit Depot, which if you play Wing Commander 2, it probably looks very familiar because it's very, very similar to the Starbase.
Yeah.
But it's almost certainly familiar to most Wing Commander fans because it ended up in Special Operations 1 as the pirate base we see here. I took out a crossbow earlier and targeted it with a torpedo. It was fun.
Nice.
So that's number 1, and I've noted we have some stats for these because the ship's codex is basically printouts of the internal stats, and some of them are garbage, like the shield numbers for some of these ships. They just had like random numbers, but some of them, they had all their weapons positioned already before they were cut, so we can actually tell you a little bit about each of these ships. For instance, and this is not an interesting one for the depot, but it had 2 flak cannons.
Yeah, I was looking at it, not the most, but hey, it's always good to have those floating around. You need variety in space stations.
So next up we have the crossbow, and you're like, oh, I know the crossbow. It's that stupid bomber from Special Operations 1.
Not like this.
Not like this. This is the crossbow class corvette,
which is such a weird change.
Well, they did that in Wing Commander 1 also. They took all the cut ships and they reused them in other roles.
No, what I mean is like the crossbow has wings.
Well, I mean it's similar to the Venture.
Yeah, but the Venture, those felt more substantial to me. Like there was compartments and things in there.
If you see what they've done here, it actually has a little conning tower and deck in the front. So it's a ship with multiple decks, and this may even have been what this is what they were thinking about when they were writing Milk Run. It's the Wing Commander 2 version of a corvette. Of course,
it survive at least a little bit longer.
So they needed a bomber for Special Operations 1, so they took the mesh. But there is this one instance in Wing Commander Academy. If you go in and you use a ship selection screen and you pick crossbow, the little rotating view in the lower left corner still has the original textures of the Corvette, because I guess they had the same model as from that set, and they just rendered it out, not thinking, oh, it's actually
the wrong thing.
Yeah, it's white like this in the actual game, and it has a big cockpit. So yeah, that's the crossbow Corvette, and I've got the armament here, which is 2 flak cannons.
Not bad.
2 particle cannons, forward firing.
Yep.
8 IR missiles, so it was kind of supposed to be like this missile boat.
Sure.
Which is probably what the wings are for. Have the missiles under the wings.
Yep.
And 4 torpedoes. So you could probably see the missions they were thinking. You would escort this thing to take out a capital ship, and you'd have to protect it, and then it would do the torpedo run for you.
Maybe that's what they wanted in Gorkar 2D.
That would have worked well.
That would be great.
No, they specifically take your crossbow away there.
I know. Well, maybe because they were thinking the Corvettes were going to show up.
So our ship number 3, you all know this one from the intro to Wing Commander 2.
Yep.
This is the Rigok class, and as of the Wing Commander 2 ship plan, it was supposed to be a carrier. The idea was you would have the Rolotha destroyer, the Fralthra cruiser, and the Rigok carrier, which was Prince Drakath's flagship. It would be the toughest Kilrathi ship to beat in the game. It was cut as a game element, but kept in the intro where you see it swoop in.
Yeah, that famous shot.
A couple of renders of it.
Look at that, looks beautiful from above.
And I remember debating what is Prince Drakath's ship, because unless you look carefully at it, and it really only just swoops by, and you can't pause or anything.
Yeah.
It just swoops by, and it looks like a Rolotha. But over the years, we finally counted. Oh, it's got one more engine pod than a Rolotha. It's got that thing on the front. And there are some renders of it.
Very cool shape.
There it is from the intro.
Yep.
And here's an interesting nod to it. So in Special Operations 1, the losing mission in the first Gor-Kar series. You go and talk to Paladin between missions, and he tells you that a Rigok cruiser has bombed Gor-Kar across the Gor-Kar-Raukath border. I don't know where that is.
Okay.
Our systems have borders. But, so that's a canonical nod to the name Rigok cruiser.
Okay,
and a cruiser instead of carrier now.
Yeah.
We also have this sketch. This is the original sketch of the ship created when they were doing the concept for Wing Commander 2. And it appears in... Let me go back. It appears in, of all places,
Ta-da.
the Kilrathi Saga calendar.
Ooh,
July. Let me see.
Oh, Miss July.
So the Kilrathi Saga calendar does this thing where it shows you the concept art and then the
real art.
Was I right about July? Yes, I was.
Yep.
So it shows you the real art and then a screenshot. And while this calls it a Rigok correctly, and in fact I can tell you from the publishing, the digital publishing copy of this, this is called Rigok.tiff, but the actual picture to go with it is a Ralatha. So that just
so
adds to confusion.
And so far, right?
So that was ship number 3.
And this is the one.
This is the weirdest one. This... Oh, by the way, let me give you the armament for this. It's pretty impressive, actually. 1 flak cannon.
Not bad.
5 antimatter guns.
I hate you.
1 phase transit cannon. So this would have had one of those big single kill weapons like the Concordia. And you can see that cool space battle.
Yeah, that would have been a good one to face off against.
So here, last but not least, we have the... If you remember in Wing Commander 2, there are 2 Confed transports, the Clydesdale and the Free Trader. In fact, Wing Commander 1 had 2 transports for each side, and the extra transports got cut and then added back in the special secret missions.
Yep.
So there was initially a second transport intended for the Kilrathi in Wing Commander 2.
Should I do my...
Here. This is it!
What the hell is that?
It's a big round boy. This is the me of transports. That is my body type exactly.
No, because the head's not big
enough.
Yeah,
should have a giant head.
Not big enough.
So this is the Lumbach class transport.
It looks like a bunch of spheres with some engines just strapped on.
It's more heavily armed than the transport from the Dorkathi. It's got 3 flak cannons and 3 IR missiles? FF missiles, friend of foe missiles.
Chris, it does kind of look like a tank, because I was about to say, it almost looks like, so you see how there's the front pod and then the engine section? It almost looks like that big sphere with the wings would be the cargo piece that comes on and off and is interchangeable.
In fact, Chris Reed said it looks like a tanker, and going back, there is a weird relationship with transport tanker in Wing Commander 1 and forward. So back when they planned out Wing Commander 1, the idea was that each side would have a transport and a tanker. For Confed, it was supposed to be the Diligent transport and the Drayman transport and the Diligent tanker. And it was essentially the same model, but with a different tube on the back.
Yeah.
So you would see the Drayman with a brown cube and the Diligent with a blue sphere, or tubey guy.
Yeah, cylinder.
And then the Kilrathi were supposed to be the same way. It was supposed to be the Lumbari transport, which was the square one, and the Dorkier tanker. And if you look at the Dorkier drawing, it's clearly a tanker. It's got 2 big tanks.
Yep.
So when they went and cut those from the game, they already had written all these missions where it was like, go intercept a tanker, go intercept a transport, or go escort a tanker, go escort a transport. So what they did was, instead of going and changing those missions around, changing the dialogue, they added 2 claw marks to the Drayman and the Dorkier. They added a little thing, like configurable as a transport or a tanker.
Yeah.
So then when they wanted to use those art assets again for Secret Missions 1...
It was all ready to go.
Yeah, they had them all ready to go, but they didn't have the lore that they were specifically a transport and a tanker. So they get used interchangeably. Lumbari are tankers and transports throughout that game, and there's only 1 Diligent, which is carrying relief crew to Goddard. So there's always been this weird, bi-relationship with tankers and transports in Wing Commander.
Okay.
And in Wing Commander 2, you can kind of see it again, because you've got the Clydesdale, which is clearly a tanker. It's a big tubey guy, with roundies, and it even gets used as a tanker occasionally. Like there's the Valdez that loads, you refuel from them.
And then what is Clydesdales usually haul when we think of Clydesdales today?
That's true.
Beer. Mm-hmm. All right, liquid. So yeah, it makes sense.
So and then the free trader would be the freight one.
Yeah.
Although that's not in the lore anywhere. They're marked as civilian transport and military transport. And then the Kilrathi, it seems like, it would make sense that the Dorkathi was a transport and this was supposed to be a tanker.
It certainly looks like it.
I'll stress that's not mentioned anywhere in the Wing Commander 2 documentation. Now, this actually did end up in a Wing Commander game a couple years later. And I will get to it. Ha!
Whoa.
Yes.
Whoa.
That is the Lumbari model for Super Wing Commander, which only appears
late
in the game, and rarely in missions, because they read it's all the secret missions Lumbari appearances, and there's a cutscene where it gets escorted through.
Is that 1 point? Is that the 1.5 where you're going up to the dockyard?
No, it's the before that. It's just one.
Just one.
So that is where it ultimately appeared. Got retextured for Super Wing.
I love how it's just got like gigantic missiles at the end of each wing.
Yes.
I mean, that makes sense, right? It has
lots of missiles. It has.
It says three there, but I guess it would be 4 if we see the other side. Yeah.
In fact, I think that in the WC 3D file, there's like 10 versions of this, and some of them are just coated in missiles. So.
Oh, jeez.
So we'll check that out when we play Super Wing, which is not yet because our Mac is not here.
The Mac has not happened, but yeah, I'm very excited to jump into that because that's a game. I mean, we've already we've given Armada all the love we've given it so far, and we'll probably explore it more. But Super Wing Commander is one of those ones that also has kind of fallen between the cracks, where it'll be fun to test things out and see what happens. It's one game I just remember getting very frustrated as a kid trying to run it and just giving up.
Yes.
I only got a first few missions. It's going to be... I have a funny feeling it could be a challenge at first. Like a very aggravating challenge.
Absolutely.
But a good one.
It's going to be good.
It's going to be it's going to be really good. It's going to be weird just trying to think, wait, did we just watch that? Is that what they just really did in Wing Commander? You'd be like, yeah. They went on the wild side for that one.
There's some odd stuff.
There's a lot of freaky stuff, yeah.
So with that, let's just run through the WC news for the week. Aha! Hey, everybody.
That's right. I almost made the sound, but I remember we have the email sound.
Does it actually plays the email sound when I start that now?
Well, it does it every time you do the thing.
Every time I switch to me.
Yes. Or, it does every time you switch to you. I noticed it last week a lot as we went back and forth.
So, update number 1. The folks behind the RC Hornet, the RC Pirate Ninsai, has essentially finished his Hornet model and decorated it. It now has confed art. And even more excitingly, you can download the plans yourself now. He's posted those online. He's also created this trading card for it. And you can now make your own Hornet. All the resources are available. I don't have the skill, but hopefully somebody out there does. And I love this one. It's pretty neat. Next up, we have an update for Admiral Maverick's Wing Commander tabletop game, which he's been building. He has finished the major stat tables he's been working on, and he has worked out several of these cards, which I will share with you quickly right now. That is all very confusing to me, but I'm sure it is so much fun for people who love like those X-Wing style games, miniatures games, which, by the way, makes it very hard to search for the 1993 LucasArts X-Wing online. Story number 3 is something I was involved in a little bit ago, which was the discovery of a third unreleased port for Wing Commander 3 for the Jaguar. The Jaguar was another one of those failed 32-bit systems from the mid-1990s, which included things like the 3DO, the original PlayStation, and so on. And we had known that there was a port of Wing Commander 3 developed for the Sega Saturn. They actually showed it at E3, but it is totally missing now. It never came out. We knew that there was a port of Wing Commander 3 in development for the 3DO M2, which was supposed to be the successor to the 3DO. But up until now, with this internal document from EA, this internal document from Atari, we didn't know that it was in development under contract for the Jaguar. But knowing that, we could go back in the past and find a whole bunch of articles where it's actually mentioned. So that's interesting. And last but not least, pretty cool one, we have several screenshots from Defiance Industries, who has been modeling the Hellcat 5 cockpit in 3D. you look closely at Wing Commander 4, you see they built a physical cockpit for different ships, specifically the Hellcat in the intro where you see it the most. And he's gone through and he has modeled this LCARS style cockpit interface, which was physically built as a prop set for Wing Commander 4 as a 3D ship that hopefully will someday be included in a remaster of Wing Commander 4.
Just want to reload that one for me?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when you suck.
Will do, Shu. So that's it for our Wing Commander news for the day.
How dare you shoo me?
All right, I've got to reload the...
it just got stuck, that's all.
Yeah, our stream got stuck.
It happens sometimes.
Way of the future.
We don't always know why, but sometimes it just does. All right, there we go. Now we see our faces on every screen everywhere.
So,
yes.
Time to actually play some Wing Commander. We just talked about it for an hour or so.
And somebody said, "Oh, this show is going to be 2 hours."
I was trying to get this to be a short one, and we haven't even got to the games yet.
I don't even get it. We were hitting an hour and 20, like week after week after week, and I feel doing the exact same level of depth, the same segments, and I don't know what has happened.
Hope you like long, uninteresting shows
about 2 guys talking.
So we mentioned last week that the anniversary of Wing Commander for the Sega CD was Saturday, or the 24th, a couple days ago.
Yes.
I have a copy here just to show you what it looks like.
Get out of town.
Wing Commander for the Sega CD. The Sega CD was this add-on that you could get for the Sega Genesis. It was called the Sega Genesis in the United States. It was called the Mega Drive overseas. So it was called the Mega CD there. But it's one of a case of Sony making a terrible business decision there. Sony was shockingly, their Sony America marketing was so incredible, and they snatched the leadership from Nintendo for this brief period, and then they could not figure out how to hold it. And they were like, "Oh, we'll do CD-ROM as a future. We'll have a CD you can buy for the Genesis. 32-bit. We're gonna have a 32-bit extender you can plug into the Genesis," and that just confused consumers. But it gave us some pretty neat games. Origin, or it wasn't actually Origin, it was Game Arts, ported Wing Commander 1 to the Sega CD. There was an Ultima Underworld port that was in the works, but unfortunately never made it out. There's a bunch of pretty neat Sega CD games. Here's the Japanese release for the Mega CD, which they called it there. And if you look inside this, maybe it's in this one. Sometimes they have a cool... little outside flippy thing that has a scimitar on it, but I grabbed the one that did not have that.
Out of the 17 copies, you grabbed the one that didn't have it. Damn you, sir. No, what do you do? You're supposed to be. What are you looking over there for?
I'm grabbing this.
Oh, Sega CD. I was about to say, where are you going over there?
This attractive little fellow is a Sega CD-X, which, if you just saw it at a Goodwill, it would look like a.
Crappy Discman?
Yeah, which you can. There was a period in the late 90s, early 2000s where if you wanted one of these, you could pay hundreds of dollars online, or you could just look in the wild because no one knew what they were.
Yeah, interesting.
So this, if you're looking for a really cool way to play this game, this is a Sega CD and regular Sega all together in one cute little button box. So I wanted to show that. We're actually going to be playing with an emulator today because I don't have this plugged into anything. But I also wanted to share this accessory, which is the Sega CD backup. It's got like 256 kilobytes of RAM on it that you can save things on.
Wow.
And oddly, this is a accessory that Wing Commander specifically supports, and we'll show you how that is in just a moment.
Well, you gotta save your game.
Let me load up our emulator using Fusion, which is a Sega CD emulator.
Everybody knows we're 50 years from being 50 years away from Fusion. That's what some people probably think our show's like, just pure static.
I'm going to apologize. Hey, it's Sonic! We've got Jonathan Taylor Thomas and Sonic, and this is 1994.
Yeah.
This is the 94 episode.
Look at that sweet CD tracker.
Yeah, this is
that
something.
Menu, yeah, that was something else.
So, Wing Commander for the Sega CD. This is the, I guess, Karasu Saga is the latest port, but this is a pretty impressive port of Wing Commander for a system that does not really have the power of a contemporary PC. And you can see it looks very, very similar to the finished game. It's got kind of a darker and more painting-y look to the artwork.
As I say, it looks a few tones down.
Yeah, and we're going to see that throughout. I want to go ahead and apologize to everybody. I have been hanging on to my very, very loud keyboard. I'm finally willing to give it up, but since we're playing this emulated, you're going to hear a bunch of clicks and clacks. We'll fix that shortly.
You should just have a stream keyboard. That's all.
Yeah.
Because there is something very, very, very soothing when you hit and you feel that sound. Like people want those old IBM ones that are clonk, 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 clonk. Because there is something that's reassuring about it.
Yeah. So one thing you will notice right off in this version is that the music is totally different.
To say the colors there are very purple.
Put my space helmet on.
Yeah, very, very purple.
Yeah, it's kind of a purple quality to it. It has that console-y pop to it.
Yeah, it looks like Shot Glass's skin looks burnt a little bit as opposed to brown.
So one of the major changes for this version of the game was that they threw out all of the Fat Man music and they recorded totally new tracks. That was out of an abundance of caution. Back when Wii Commander 1 was first developed, the music was done. He was an outside contractor, and it was done on a handshake agreement. So Electronic Arts, which has lawyers and checks these things, said, "Oh, we don't actually own this, so we're not going to take the risk that he will come around and sue us for putting it on another game years later." So they redid all the music for this release. I'm trying to remember how I have the keys mapped. So you will see that we are Second Lieutenant HOTSHOT.
Hey, HOTSHOT.
And they have, essentially, to get the script, we're going to have full spoken dialogue.
Oh.
And to get the script that way, they have named the character HOTSHOT and also given him the call sign HOTSHOT.
Hey, Mr. HOTSHOT.
In Japan, his name is Lyle Starbuck.
Lyle?
So, Lyle Starbuck. Apparently, it could be Lyle or Kyle. It's not. I guess they're written the same way, but
okay. Yeah, there's no name entry because it's got the full speech, so they can't have. Hello.
So let's take a listen to what some of our characters. We were thinking we would play through Ennio 1 and 2 and just get a feel for this and share it on its birthday.
This is all just a big old warm up to the real main event.
Belly on up, friend, and take a
look. Even he looks a little. It's weird. He's like
you must be hot
darker.
I'm Shot Glass. Welcome aboard the Claw.
Colors and art.
I used to be a pilot myself.
Can you
Fleabag shot me up
so
bad I
move your
couldn't
mouse
fly.
cursor. There you go. It was right in the middle of that.
Sorry about that. I forgot that would appear on the screen.
Yeah. Hey, just be glad it's working.
So if you want to know how one
last week at the end of the stream, that mouse. Did you plug one in? Oh, you did.
Yeah, I did.
All right, yeah. His
stop by when you're on duty and
wireless mouse kept dying at the end. So at the end of last week's stream, it seems like the mouse is moving weird. That's because he's hoping to God it works for 2 more minutes.
Oh, laddie, take a seat.
And you can see the voice acting in this one is pretty good. They use professional West Coast actors for all the voice roles. They're certainly better than Dunderdall and I am.
We were flying patrol over the Accord, the 4th planet in the Alliance system.
He looks insane.
These 4 Kilrathi Salty came zooming in with the sun at their
A different
backs.
palette, basically, for the Sega
What's
CD.
the point, monsieur?
Like
there is one, oui?
I was leading up to it, lass. That day, we learned that a Salty will always turn to the left. It's got something to do with the way their engines and ducts are arranged. So when you tail a Salty, what's to the left? That's where he'll go when he makes his break.
Yeah, the lips are pretty close. Are you trying to kiss with me?
Bonjour, Lieutenant. You are called HOTSHOT, no? I am called Angel.
Yeah, well, thank you. I know my name.
I'm just reviewing some figures on our recent encounters with the Kilrathi.
That'd be a problem.
You would like to know what I have learned, perhaps? The Drothi is the Kilrathi fighter seen most in this sector. These figures show that 1.4 missiles are required to destroy the Drothi.
Kind of weird not seeing the subtitles.
While over 7 direct laser hits are necessary to destroy the same vessel.
This was before the age of accessibility, really.
I hope this information
I'm
is
just
useful
thinking
to you,
about,
Lieutenant.
playing it in normal fashion. You're used to always reading it, because it just seems odd to not see it there.
So here is why I showed you that RAM cartridge. If you play this with the default Sega CD, 4 beds instead of 8.
Oh.
But if you plug in that cartridge...
You get the 4 more save spots?
Yes.
Interesting.
And in fact, I found mine, I think, like the day before my wedding, which was nice.
Interesting.
So this is all pretty much the same. There is...
we have a question from... I think that's Scout. The lip sync was synced before it was even voiced.
Absolutely. So the original Wing Commander had... You can't look at the naked lady, by the way. She's buxom. The buxom lady. The original Wing Commander had a system by which there was a script in dialogue that you saw, and there was also a script in how the mouth is formed, and it's kind of like a syllabic thing, so it would have it kind of written out. If you look, it's like, Human, you are, and it's written how, a syllable script, basically, to roughly match the text. That went out the window with the Secret Missions add-ons. They just did not have time to do that script for everything. So
what do you mean, dipstick?
Yes. By the way, in Wing Commander 1,
dipstick?
The thing they mouth when it's your voice, it's your character's name is Dipstick.
Dipstick.
So for Secret Missions, it just is all these in-jokes. It's like, buy Wing Commander 2, buy Wing Commander 2. So if you watch Wing Commander 1, the mouth movement should match the text. If you look at the add-ons, they're just kind of in a rotation.
Yeah, they tried, and then sometimes you gotta get under the crunch. I almost just started reading that mission briefing and I stopped myself.
We've got a lot of work to do, people, so let's get to it. The Tiger's Claw dropped from Jump Space 7 hours ago.
Whoa! His face is like that in his PC version too. It's weird at that angle.
It is, but it's like...
It's extra weird because it looks like a burn victim now.
Yeah, because his nostrils are extra there. He looks normal there. He's okay.
I want the rookies to fly as wing leaders. You vets keep an eye on the kids out there. Here are the assignments. HOTSHOT, you're leading Alpha Wing. Spirit will fly on your wing. She's quiet, but she knows the ropes.
The background characters seem to have been redrawn for this.
You're the wing leader, but if Spirit talks, you be
They no longer have that kind of like sad Native American.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you can even see Hunter in the back.
Here's your patrol plan, then.
You got the cigar.
Computer, display Alpha.
Oh, there you go.
You'll check 3 possible jump points at about 20,000 clicks out. There are asteroids near nav points 2 and 3.
Except, of course, then you'll have Spirit in the same shot where there's another Spirit
questions?
next to her.
Well,
which I think we just had.
Yes, Commander.
No, only these
what are we to do if we encounter the enemy?
25. That's
engage if the odds look good. Let HOTSHOT make the call.
Yeah, this is just the original 40 missions or 40 missions of Wing Commander.
Wander as the commander makes the rest of the assignments.
Yes,
does not have either of the add-ons.
And back to the Tiger's Claw.
Neither of the secret missions are.
Remember, this is no train sim. If you see the enemy, he'll be out to kill you.
Not a lot of people know about Secret Missions 1.5.
Be sure you do it to him before he does it to you.
Although we will be able to show the world. I mean, I owned it for a long time and I never got to it because you can't load them independently of the game.
Actually, there is a cheat.
Oh, son of a bitch. Well, where were you 25 years ago?
Right here, we were friends!
That's true.
I think I sent you the copy of Super Wing Commander you had.
Oh my god, you did!
Yeah!
That's right, you did! Holy That's right, you sent me your box copy.
Yeah.
Now I feel horrible because where the hell's that box?
I got more. And look at all the Foley work they've added. We've got like the noises of the ship taking off.
Was just about to... Oh, we're quiet compared to the in-game audio.
Oh, I can maybe fix that.
Oh, yeah, there... Oh, I see. Yeah,
no, I can't.
No?
Well,
that's just... Let's see
you can do that, maybe.
Let's see how this is.
Let us know how that is.
Give us an update. He moved some sliders, so we'll see how this goes.
Okay, now, of course, one thing that is tough about this is that we are playing with a 6-button Genesis, or emulating a 6-button Genesis controller. So we have to know some weird key combinations just to do something like autopilot is B and C.
Oh. God.
And, of course, There's also a 3-button Genesis controller, which this had to support. So there's even more confusing ways to play this. But you can see it's a pretty nice port overall.
It does look nice.
It does. It looks great for a console.
Yeah, I mean it's some weird stuff. Yeah, like the weapons loadout is interesting, as George pointed out. It does say WDF _M. I guess that's how you're supposed to say dumbfire missile.
Yes.
It literally just sounds like you're smashing keys, like you're not even attempting to fire. It's just weird.
Sorry about that.
Oh no, it's just fun. I'm just saying it sounds funny. Wow, it's weird. Look at those laser bolts that aren't the orange you expect them to be.
Yeah, it's just everything's a little bit. You can see the sprites are lower res for the enemy ships.
Yeah, it looks just a few clicks down.
And you can hear full voice in the cockpit. Unfortunately, one thing you absolutely cannot do. I mean, this has everything from the PC. If I want to switch camera views or come on, guys.
See you, Johnny.
If I want to communicate with them and break an attack, I theoretically could.
Yep.
But I have to press like XXX A B C select to actually order her to do anything, which that's not quite tenable.
That sounds more trouble than it's worth. Was this something you could have tried mapping to say like an Xbox controller or something?
Well, I'll tell you, yes, probably I could have. I did try mapping to the Warthog. And it didn't go great.
Oh. Yeah, because I have one of the Xbox One cables that you can USB Xbox One sticks.
I have a nice like 8-bit DOE controller I just did not find in time.
Oh.
Double tap B for Afterburner.
That's a weird thing.
X goes through my left BDU. Z goes through my right.
So apparently Vermin says that the voice actor for Halcyon is Cam Clark.
That's right.
I have no idea who that is.
He's probably known from anime. A lot of like early West Coast productions would have folks like him. It's very hard to remember the controls of these console versions. I love the weird console versions, but it's very hard to remember the controls.
It's a weird
like it just took me a minute to afterburn because. And here we have an asteroid field. Oh, good. They're still just as much fun.
Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh boy! And you thought Gorkar 2D was going to be the real challenge? Yeah, I would agree. The font is kind of. It's like 1 or 2 clicks up. Bigger than it should be.
So the reason for that is because you wouldn't be playing this on a PC monitor. You would be playing it on a
crappy TV.
Crappy TV, yeah. So a CRT. So they need the font to be bigger so that you can make it out on a TV that is not sharp at all.
So it kind of looks like old documents I've had to read where all the letters just blur together after 70 years of sitting in the dark.
So yeah, imagine this with scan lines and.
Can you blow up the asteroids in the port?
You can blow up the asteroids.
Okay, that was a question that came in. It sounds like you're really bad, like you're trying to fake, like what a fake typing sounds like. Like,
I am typing video game.
It's the movie. Let me hack the planet. And you're just smashing away at nothing. Yeah. Oh, apparently he was also Leonardo on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Sounds about right.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I remember that cartoon, but I don't really remember this. It's so weird to see you playing something like this and us not reading. Man, a lot of purple in the palette. A lot of purple out of replace some of the colors.
Yeah, a lot of times when you would port to a system like this, you would have to work with its much more limited palette.
Oh, Karathi looks sharper though.
They sound kind of dorky.
Oh, really? I can't hear the VDU looked a little bit better. That looks sharper than I feel like the game version does.
We got to get you a little studio mic.
What?
Something so you can hear we're flying.
Oh. Yeah.
Term I made up just then.
Yeah, I gotcha. Well, I mean, if I was really smart, I could just, plug into the actual stream and listen to us 10 seconds later.
I think that would be very confusing.
That's why I'm not doing it, yeah. Yes, it is different music. Earlier, you might not have been on the stream earlier. Ben was explaining how they had to redo the music because Fat Man's agreement was just a handshake, and EA is a big corporation that has lawyers, so they wanted to do it legally correct to avoid lawsuits down the road, because we do live in a very litigious society. So they were aiming to avoid that. Very frantic.
That's also why you notice they redid the music for Kilrathi Saga. Salty are a pain.
Seems like a lot of things are a pain.
The Drothy weren't so bad, but the Salty are really...
Salty bastards.
I mean, I guess that's also true of regular Wing Commander 1.
Yeah, they're a pain.
You're almost there, Spirit.
Good old days. Keyboard flying. That was a good long-range kill there. I was surprised.
Yeah. No, sorry, she got it.
Oh, I was gonna say you were at like 4,000 meters.
No,
I
wasn't even hitting him.
I was gonna say I don't know how the hell you did that. I just figured it was the arcadiness of it giving you some bonuses.
Oops.
Hello.
That's what happens when you don't know.
All right, we just had a live missile fire. Just
I'm shooting asteroid. Yeah.
How bad was the load time on the Sega CD for these missions?
Not terrible. The Sega CD loads this stuff pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. It's so weird to think about things like that. I mean, it's funny today. Heart of Iron 4 actually has a very long startup sequence to originally launch the game, which I don't really understand since there's not a whole lot of graphics or anything going on that it needs to load, but it takes a good probably minute 30, 2 minutes, which doesn't seem like a long time in the grand scheme of things, but for stuff loading today, that's an eternity.
Okay, now we're going to get to the hardest part of the mission, because this is going to be the part where we try to land.
Yeah, so you have to talk to people, don't you?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna slow down.
Yeah, I might
so okay, so I got to that. Nope.
My honor is to obey.
No, there you go. Yeah.
HOTSHOT, you're clear to land.
HOTSHOT, you're clear to land, they say. Okay.
All right.
Speed up. By the way, the way to speed up is the B and then up or down. So you lose flight control when you are speeding up. I was trying to say I mapped this to the Warthog earlier, and the problem is it's four ways rather than if I naturally want to pull up to the left and up, and that's not happening.
It only does.
It only does one
because
direction.
It has to do either one or the other. It can't do both. Oh, I gotcha. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Is this the same version as NES port?
No, this is very different from this SNES port. It's not the same palette as the PC, but it is 256 colors, so you don't, or at least 32 colors. The SNES version is 32 colors, and it does a bunch of stuff like Mode 7 for the takeoff, and the SNES port was developed by Mindscape rather than Origin, and I don't think EA ever had the source code or anything. But it is a totally different branch of the Commander 1 source code.
Looks like you survived your first trip out.
And I will say, for something that's released the same day as Super Wing Commander, the voice acting is so much better. I have no idea why Electronic Arts didn't just record this dialogue once. But you have we'll see the Austin actors do Super Wing later.
Yeah, Super Wing is such a weird.
Well out there.
Mm-hmm. This would always, and as a Mac user in this era, that's probably you sent me Super Wing because you didn't have a Mac, so you needed somebody to play it, And I remember playing it a bit and being like, I can't do this.
Yeah, I wanted to hear about it. I want to know.
Yeah, and I remember, and you weren't that mad, but you were like, oh, okay.
I never get mad.
No, you just get, oh, okay.
Giving up on this.
He's very disappointed in me. And you'll see why, though, when we set it up. And it's even from the, Hunter looks very strange there with his hair.
The other big shit, the SNES one is heavily simplified. They cut out a lot of stuff. They reduce graphics to fit it onto the tiny cartridge. The CD is nice because this can be as big as you. This is 130 megs without the Redbook audio track, which is huge for the time. So this could have all the ships that were cut from the SNES version, all the missions, all the cutscenes. It also is not censored like the SNES version.
Oh. You didn't have an SNES version out.
I don't have one out, but if you see, this one is actually rated MA13. Which is for swearing. By the way, this is not the MPA or whatever this is not the
I don't think that existed
yet. It was about 10 months away. So this was a pre-ESRB thing called the VRC. And it's purely for swearing.
What, they say, like, bastard?
Yeah. Ass butt. That sort of thing. I don't think that happens.
I just remember, I think this is bastards or something.
You're HOTSHOT, right? They call
Which is really
sounds like a beetle.
G'day.
He looks like one. His hair.
He was telling me about your tumble with the hairballs.
He's awesome.
Sounds like you really mixed it up out there. That's the way, isn't it, mate? Just you and some hairball twisting about, trying to get a missile lock. Formations, uniforms, medals, wingmen, that's all sheep dip.
Sheep dip!
All the Bruce can count on out there is himself and his missiles.
Kudos to Australian culture for being willing to go out to the stars and just still be super, super Crocodile Dundee.
Hey, that's been on HDNet. I actually refused to watch it this morning because I was like, you know what? I've seen it like 4 times in the last week because it's in their rotation.
Were you guys going to do another mission? Well, let's finish Enyo if we can.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Well, I was gonna let you know we were an hour 40, so
40 minutes.
Plenty of time.
Yeah, it's yeah. All we do after this is usually watch Discovery.
You'll be escorting a Drayman-class transport to its jump point. Computer, display Epsilon. Let's take a look at your flight plan.
Yeah, Davy Jones from the Monkees. Yeah.
You'll rendezvous with the transport upon launch.
Yes, that was extremely fake Australian right now.
To nav point 1.
All you gotta say is Foster's.
And on to nav 2, where it'll initiate jump sequence. Once it's jumped out, you'll return by the most direct route.
This one, Scott was asking, is this a pure voiceover of the original script? And yes, it is, with the exception of the name
HOTSHOT
being HOTSHOT. It's a very literal read of the original script.
That's right, HOTSHOT.
The SNES version is very different. They do things like you can't mention alcohol. So
what shot glass serving? OJ?
He serves dessert. When he's like, I invented the Goddard special, and it's like it's a dessert.
Yeah, because that's what pilots after a hard day's mission. But I want some cake.
The Navy does have ice cream, right?
Yes, G-Dunk.
All right then, let's get to work.
But that was more a big thing before they had like air conditioning. Well, in the Navy they'd be called G-Dunk bars. All the carriers had them, the battleships had them, cruisers had them. Destroyers did not, though. That's why destroyers would go out of their way to try to pick up pilots, because every pilot earned them 10 gallons of ice cream for the ship. So you can imagine, right after Philippine Sea, that there were some destroyers getting a whole lot of ice cream.
It's got to be something to a pilot to know that he's worth 10 gallons of ice cream, and not more.
Yeah. Well, that's just the basic for returning him to his ship. They might throw in a few other liberties. The problem is, right, the U.S. Navy is dry.
Glad to have you with us, Second Lieutenant HOTSHOT.
Second Lieutenant HOTSHOT.
Joseph Daniels.
There's our Dreamin' escort guy. Let's take him to the jump point. The Drayman is in another castle.
Excuse me, Commander. I have no...
I use my key for a fishing hook. It's actually weird for me is when I think of the Drayman, I think of the Privateer one first because I actually played that for Wing Commander 1.
God, remind me next week we'll do a Drayman comparison. Producer, remember to do a
Michael,
Drayman.
we need a Drayman comparison. Because yeah, my first experience with Wing Commander 1 was actually the Kilrathi Saga. And prior to that, I had only had Wing Commander 2 Deluxe, Privateer, Armada, and I believe 3. So those are my first experiences.
Good news, his offspring is going to avenge him. I took care of the Salty pretty easy that time.
Yes, does it track? I believe it does track your rank, and the medals are still the same in this one?
Yes, medals are still the same. Yep. In fact, if you want to show them, there's a nice color guide to them in this, I believe.
There is a very nice color guide to them.
That's the Japanese Mega CD version.
Yep, just wanted to flip through to go, I can't understand a word of this. I almost just held this up in front of the microphone for some reason, I don't know why. But yep, it's got a very nice color display of all the medals. We'll be talking about medals later in a little while.
Yes, you know, I don't think we introduced this, but our big history feature this week is...
the Medal of
Honor, yes.
Because Monday is Medal of Honor Day. We will look at the Confederation and the American Medal of Honor. Just clanking away over there.
Sorry about that.
No,
we'll get a nice quiet one next time.
At least your wingman, was she firing? Spirit looked like she was opening fire, but did you tell her to break an attack, or she just taking her own liberty?
She did it on her own, because I wasn't.
She's taking some liberty. Uh-oh.
Well, that's nice, because I was definitely not going to figure out how to communicate in the heat of battle. Sorry, the Drayman died while you were figuring out how to summon your wingman.
That's right. It's going to be a real pain, because it's very clear that you have, what, 1 or 2 inputs at a time, and that's it? So you can, like, move and fire?
Yeah.
But you can't do anything else?
Well, you could do more than one input at a time, but you can't, like, if I go up and to the side, it's not gonna go 45 degrees. It's gonna go one and then the other.
Yeah.
But I can do multiple buttons at once.
Yeah, but it then reads them in like sequence.
I thought he was running, but it does not seem to be the case.
Yes, you do.
Oh no, he's there. No,
you do get ribbons for those. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, ribbons in Wing Commander 1 is a fully fleshed out system, though you rarely actually see it happen. It happens in the background, and in fact, most of the ribbons you get in the first mission, because there's one for 5 kills, there's one for flying a Hornet for the first time, etc., etc.
Making our way to the next nav point.
Making our way in the world today with a Drayman on our tail.
Everything you got. That's because, you know what? We had Norm from Cheers on earlier.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know where you got that.
So I started singing a terrible version of the Cheers song.
Yep.
Did it jump? Okay, guy. You gonna jump now?
No, he's gonna take a sweet time. Oh. Yep.
Of course, we have to get through an asteroid field.
Of course. It would not be a Wing Commander 1 experience without some asteroids mixed in.
The medals are described in claw marks, but that's a question from the chat, by the way. The medals are described in claw marks, but they're black and white, or the ribbons are described, but they're black and white, so it's very hard to identify them.
Yeah, what's what?
Compared to the game. Yeah. Although we do have a guide plug on WC News. But that's another one for a future show. We could go through the different ribbons in Wing Commander 1 and show what they are in the different ports.
Yep.
Producer!
Well, we already said that pre-show we were talking about how we were going to do a medal. We were going to do the Confederation and American Pyramids of Honor.
Yeah.
And break down, and I'm look at the different medals that they have in there too.
I think ribbons will be, because they don't work like real ribbons where they don't represent medals. They represent achievements.
I mean, no offense to the Air Force, but that does sound like an Air Force ribbon system there. I'm like, yay.
This is the Space Force, man.
Yeah, congratulations. You kept that chair hot. Okay. Is the Mega CD version fully voiced as well from the chat?
Yes, fully in Japanese.
Oh, konnichiwa.
It also has several Red Book tracks. The intro music is a Red Book track. The You Eject and Die ending music is all Red Book tracks. But this is all...
What's a Red Book track?
You know how sometimes games will have... You put them in a CD player and you can listen to the music?
Oh, yeah. After you skip track 1?
Yeah. So it's like that, but most of the music is internal. It's generated by the Sega CD. But there are a couple tracks that are extra dramatic, I guess.
That's interesting, because I'm pretty sure... I remember when my dad first showed me about that the CD's having more than one track. Because I think Spaceship Warlock has its music on the CD once you skip the game track 1. Because I feel like he used to put that in and he'd be like, check this out. And be like, no way, you can't make that make music, Dad. It's a game CD. And I believe Marathon 2? Actually, no, I think all the Marathon CDs are like that too. Where they have the game audio or the game music on the CD. Yeah.
This is a challenge.
It's a very it's just like real carrier landing traps.
Nope.
What the hell? Oh, that was a cat fighter. I was like, what the hell does it you just launch? How did you make it go down before?
There we go.
Nope. Okay.
We're gonna get this. Okay. Yes.
You're clear to land.
And again, Gore Kart 2 was the big push this week.
And that's the problem with every console for the Wing Commander. The communication system is always so uncomfortable.
Because, how are you supposed to, it's like you got to be clicking 3 or 4 buttons really quickly to do it, which, I guess you could do, but it'd be a giant pain.
Yeah. So I think today, if I were doing Wing Commander, a little bit of voice control for that.
Oh, there you go. That's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea at all. Oh, jeez. You go right off to trot from this into that.
You got away pretty clean, sir.
That one sounded like us.
Well, that's not good.
The Chief Tech is a nerd.
It was actually...
Good job out there, HOTSHOT.
Thank you, Colonel.
The sport jumped right on schedule.
You said good job.
I figured as much. I know how you are with compliment. I figured.
Thank you, sir.
Happy
but Spirit deserves as much credit as I do.
His face looks tighter.
Looks very cartoony.
Well, it looks like constipated or something.
At any rate,
whoa,
that was some nice flying.
He got darker in that one. That's darker than he is in the other frame.
Well, let's review the mission report.
I also think that in a modern game, communication stuff could be almost seamless. There's no reason for the game not to know that when I get back to the nav point at the end of the mission, it could automatically communicate with the carrier.
Totally.
And HOTSHOT, I want to see you in my office in a couple of hours.
But I feel like
dismissed.
You lose a little bit of your immersion if it just does it automatically, because then you don't have to think.
Totally.
And I think that's kind of one of the things that some games don't do very well.
Come in. I need to speak with you.
They don't want to design the moment, so instead they'll cutscene it or something like that, or they'll have a weird bit that doesn't feel like all the rest. Like Halo 4 has a few moments like that where it puts you in a different control scheme for the Chief, and it's just Like there's one where he's trying to escape from a ship that's breaking apart, so you have to do this climb thing, and it the head moves when you need to jump this way or jump that way, which is not like any other bit of Halo.
By the way, I'd also say that the original communication system is one of the least immersive things in Wing Commander. It makes sense that I would select a frequency for who I want to talk to, but it does not necessarily make sense that I would decide what I'm saying based on pressing a number. So that would be one of the first things I would replace in a modern version. I'm getting moved to the Scimitar. I've been promoted and getting moved to the Scimitar.
Under 2 whole missions.
And you can see they have all of this. It's still just as dynamic as Wing Commander 1, and it felt like a real conversation, which is not going to happen in Super Wing Commander when they try to do that same stuff. I got a medal! I'm wonderful!
Yes, he's the Wing Commander, so he could be, Commander Air Group or something like that. It doesn't necessarily mean a rank as much as it can be a title as well for him. He's just Colonel, this is rank, and then he's the Commander Air Group 70 for the Tiger Star or something like that.
56.
I'm just throwing a number out there.
I was throwing the correct number out there.
Well, if you knew, how do you know that the Confederation doesn't use the same system as the United States, where air groups are not directly tied to any ship, and they can organically be moved around?
Good job, HOTSHOT.
No, I just know what air wing is assigned to the Tiger Claw.
Oh, I'm just trying to tell you that you never know.
Thank you, sir.
One day they're there, one day they're at the Academy. The next day they're somewhere else. There's one very happy person in the back of that scene on the right. See, with a giant smile.
Everyone's happy for me. I did a good job saving that Draymond.
Hey, congratulations! You've got a whole rack of medals.
All right. In fact, let me look at my. There you go. Let's see, I've got a medal, and I had 2 ribbons at the very start, which was my Academy Training ribbon and something else. Academy Training and Fighter Training. And now I've added these, it's probably 5 kills, Hornet Qualification, and Vegas Sector. So, that's probably enough Wing Commander for the Sega CD for now.
I would think so.
I'm going to save this mission, though, just in case we would like to come back to this in the future.
You act like we won't.
Oh, it's going to be fun. All right,
That's a weird-looking thing.
That was Wing Commander for the Sega CD.
Interesting.
The next thing in our agenda is we thought we would try Gorkar 2D another time or two.
What are you talking?
You said 5 to 10 tries.
Yeah, earlier I was going to ask you if there was a way with science we could have a little counter up in the corner that would click up as we went through them.
Well,
but then I figured that was something that we would. I'm not going to.
Here, I'm going to give you my notepad, which, by the way,
has jump points.
Yes, it's. I'll show you guys in a second what this is.
Yep. Here, I can do it. You do that.
Yeah.
This is some of the stuff. Hopefully, I'm not looking at our live, so we'll see how this looks in a minute. Yep, some of his notes for how you get around.
But I have here nice Sharpie.
What am I, the president over here?
Yeah.
Thanks.
So, we're not going to get this. It's going to be very hard, but it'll be fun to give it a couple of tries.
You never know. Lady Luck. Lady Luck.
I'm going to tell you, I've played this about 20 times since off stream.
Yeah.
I came close once.
Well, that means you're due. This is one of those real. There's no trick. There's no.
Yeah,
There's not. It's not even like the old. All right, I'm gonna go take like an hour or two, do something else, come back, and just fresh and just randomly get out. Sometimes it works with games. It's not like this at all. This is such a weird thing to see it all in the full screen compared to that little, the little emulator screen.
Oh yeah, I should have full screen that. It probably.
No, it doesn't matter. Well, it was only us who noticed it. But yeah, we're back in the saddle again. No, in this one, there's not really any pressure to perform because you're almost assuredly going to fail.
Yeah, we tried this about 5 times last week and
got nowhere. Yeah,
One enemy fighter
you get to the same kind
ahead.
of point, and then that's it. No. Loaf is the rare person who he typically doesn't adjust his speed. Especially the older games, I've noticed. He very rarely up throttles.
If I have a physical throttle set up, I will.
Yeah.
But not so much.
You gotta reach across the keyboard.
Not so much with the keyboard. And you are sitting where my throttle normally goes. So.
That's true. We could fit it, but then we would be.
Look,
you looked away for like half a second. I saw it, and that was that. That was that.
That's one.
That's one. Oh, I guess that's my job, right?
You'll rack these ships ahead.
All right.
I mean, I'll say we're gonna get it eventually.
We have to, otherwise it'll be 3 years later, and we're still on this mission, which will probably not do well for the program. Our program director would probably have an issue with that. But he's gone. He's had to go from using the keyboard to now the Warthog, which is
yes,
quite the upgrade. Yeah, it's like going from writing in your own blood to having a full word processor.
That is an odd comparison.
I was trying to think of something ridiculous, and that's what came out at the moment. I know too. Yeah. And here we go. Where you got a little damage.
Yeah, and that I got my old butt whacked off.
Yep, I would say that if you have a gunner, he's dead. But you don't, so it's okay.
I do have a gunner.
Oh, that's right. We're not privateer. Oh, now you're foobar. You got your shield generators down. What else you got down? Oh, you even lost your engines are even more damaged. You lost 50 kps. Oh, shield generator fixed. So here we go. This is over. Turns around because you think we didn't get hit in that time, and well, never mind. Now you just lost your power. Your power plant just got hit. Oh my god.
Sabers die so quick.
They do. And it's a fight. This is number 2.
No, we're in 3.
I know, but that means 2 times.
Okay.
I just do after that's. I'm just doing the line for after it's over.
Did we just have a weird...
What did you... I think you just quit.
No, we had a crash. A Wing Commander...
we had a Wing Commander...
Wing Commander 2 crash. Hold on just a second and we will...
Restart.
We'll get back to this.
That's... I don't know. Is the game telling us
haunted.
Something? It's telling you, go to hell, drop dead, go away?
Select mission.
I won't count that as a loss.
Count that as a loss?
No, I won't. I'm not marking
that. You won't?
That.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not marking that.
Okay.
No, that one does not count. That was... Technical errors beyond your control. Yeah, we know me, Dreadmans. We know.
You'll rack these ships ahead.
Yeah.
No, Bear, we don't want you. Go home, Bear.
Would you like my help, Colonel? I'm here to help you from Soviet Union. From Alpha Centauri.
May I attack, sir?
Watch your target, sir. Watch your target, sir.
You definitely almost just made them turn on you. Because you definitely...
Almost, because
you took a good chunk of his... Oh, that's not good.
Watch your target, sir.
That was bad. That was very bad what just happened. That guy hated you.
Yeah, I killed him in the first round.
Still, he hated you because there was a lot of rounds, and that missile, though, is what really has screwed you over, because you... Well, let's be honest, you're not surviving the snap point.
No.
Nope. No, and you're turning right into the weak side. I mean, they're throwing out enough rounds that you would just think that eventually enough have to connect.
I require your assistance.
Oh, Hobbs requires our assistance. What a surprise.
Wouldn't it be a great day if they says, "Hey, Hobbs, hey, do you need any of my help?"
I require your assistance.
Hobbs, don't. He's trying to use his missiles, actually, but he can't get lock, even though it says he has lock.
It's a DOSBox thing, actually.
Oh, your keyboard is... Yeah. Sometimes it gets... So, yeah, DOSBox, if anybody uses it, knows that every now and then it just gets dumb, and won't take keyboard inputs correctly for a bit until you typically Alt-Tab.
Yeah, and one thing that's going to be good once we have a 486 up and running is we can play this as it was meant to be played.
Yeah.
Okay, here's step number 4.
Well, yeah. Oh.
You'll rack these ships ahead.
Yeah, no, last week Loaf and I talked, we're both, actually we talked, was that before or after the stream we talked about our missile usage?
I think it was before.
Yeah, we were both talking, no, it was after I think, because both of us are kind of...
stingy.
Yeah.
You know, they lay it on so thick in Wing Commander 1 that you have to preserve them.
Yeah, that both of us are, we're typically, you know, if I land missing more than 2 missiles, it's surprising. In any game but Wing Commander 4. I almost always land with a full load in 1 unless there's a cap ship in the mission. That's really the only time I ever use missiles.
Very impressive, sir.
Hobbs thought it was impressive too.
Heidi ho. That was a home improvement reference for you.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I require your assistance.
Yeah, we know Hobbs.
You'll rack these ships ahead.
No way, Hobbs. No way. But yeah, missile usage is an interesting thing to talk to people about because it's...
Of course, sir.
You know, some people, they refuse to land with any. Ben and I are like,
I require
I'm not
your
using it unless I
assistance.
absolutely have to. Or then it's like a privateer, it's so, all you do is let those MREX ride.
I only use those in the escort missions, actually.
I require your assistance.
I think it's because of the setting. You make a point of how you're on a budget at the start of the game.
Yeah, I would say there are times where for budgetary reasons, I won't expend as many, but once I'm later in the game and it's just like, I have 10 talents to kill right now, let's just get rid of them. Or if I'm at some nap point that I don't feel like dealing with it, then I'll just launch some...
I require your assistance.
Returning but there's nothing, actually, what bothers me the most, though, is when you launch your 2 MREX and then they miss. That gets me every time, like I just wasted money on something.
No, didn't even see that one coming. No, you're doing better there, but...
came up behind you.
Again, no.
Alright, we're on to number 5. That one for the records. Which is always weird because I'm looking at our stream screen, so I look to see myself holding in the camera and it doesn't happen for about 15-20 seconds. There we go, I am holding it centered. He's gone through.
Oh, another crash.
Oh no. Is this a sign?
I think it might be a sign.
Alright,
We're still going to try 4 more times.
Yeah, alright. I will not count that as try 5.
No, it's try 4.
Georgios was just saying that the Gothry and Privateer are tough, but these ones are tougher.
Yeah, these are a pain. And they're weirdly low resolution. Have you ever noticed that?
Mm-hmm.
You'll rack these ships ahead.
Yes, we know.
May I attack, sir? Very impressive, sir.
See, that's how you want to start things. You know, when you just start just dropping.
Nice quick one.
Unfortunately, did that drop with the nose of your? Oh, good. It was somebody else's.
Yeah, it was one of the.
I was gonna say somebody else ran.
One of the jerks.
One of the jerks. Hey,
May I attack, sir?
I mean, so to answer your question, Tarsus, essentially they serve the same role. They're both heavy fighter bombers, the Gothry and the Saber. In terms of comparison.
The Gothry actually carries 6 torpedoes standard.
So it's a very heavy fighter. Very, very heavy strike fighter.
No, this is not our night.
That is not. No, that's not. Right now, I'm just waiting for a stray particle cannon now to take you out.
I am too.
So it's gonna, yeah. I'm waiting for Bear to say sorry.
They never apologize.
Well, you might. Let's see here. That's a good call. I wholeheartedly approve. Scout is gonna play some Privateer. Well, while the stream is going, so that's a good call. We're never going to tell you not to privateer.
No, always privateer.
Yes. Yes, I hope
remember the ABCs of Wing Commander. Always be playing privateer.
That's right. Always be conversing. That's what it means. He's also, yes, slinging the same number. He's got 6 torpedoes. Actually, I think he only has 5. I think one was
returning to base, sir. Ejecting. Another dead egg.
Oh, that's nice. Almost out of Troy. Nice. Save those bucks. Save those bucks. Oh my God. How the hell did that not kill you?
We got the Guthrie, but we couldn't get... I'm going to try one more time, and then we'll put it off to next week. We'll just keep trying this forever.
Yep.
Until we get it.
Iraqi ships ahead.
I would hope he's still in a Tarsus in Troy. Don't be splurging already. You gotta rack up those. You get your Taurus all pimped out, and then you gotta just do some basic missions to build up before you get into the plot. I usually don't even like starting the plot till I have my fully armed Centurion and about 200,000 credits in the bank. Just in case I screw up everything and fly into 50 asteroids and everything gets blown up.
Die in dishonor.
Yeah. Die.
Die in dishonor.
So we've already...
Iraqi ships ahead.
Worf is having trouble getting along with Mr. Odo. Because who knows what a strategic operations officer actually is. That sounds like a do-nothing, rich person friend job. It's not bad. 35,000 cash is pretty good. 28 kills, not bad. Just keep stacking cash. All you gotta do, keep stacking cash.
Cash rules everything around you, I've been told. $1 bill, y'all.
I was trying to talk about, usually you do better when I don't comment on what you're doing, so I'm just trying to talk to the crowd, thinking that maybe we're going on another little run like last time. You got damn close. So just getting onto the torpedo runs, which is really the point that would be great to get to. He's got it once so far, then took an antimatter round straight at the cockpit. And I think Bear is trying to kill you or somebody.
Yep, that was Bear.
Yeah. Oh, no, it was a Guthrie.
Oh, Guthrie, okay.
Oh, all right.
Well, next time.
I'll put it for the record.
It was very hard to go from the keyboard to that one.
Sure.
So.
I was debating whether we should have put Cargo Bay in between to kind of give you some time to do.
Next time we'll do Special Operations first, and then...
Ooh, that's not bad. Yeah, we'll have to see about that.
Well, let's do the Cargo Bay. Excellent Foley work.
Great job. I like how you were doing stuff on the camera when our cameras aren't on during that.
No. Our first item is...
It's a jewel case.
It's a jewel case. We showed the other two of these a couple weeks ago.
Sorry, I'm trying to look around our microphone, so if I don't get it centered at first, it's because I can't really see myself like normal.
So this is Wing Commander 2 for the is a PC Wing Commander 2. This is the European Orange Classic, which and this is the UK version. But you need the tri-language packaging.
Yep, I say it's got tri-language here.
They did this one, Privateer and Armada, and now we've got all three in the library here. Although I'd love to find the French and German releases with their versions of the manuals.
It's made in the EC.
Yeah. That was before it was the EU.
Oh, hey. Moving down the alphabet.
Next up, we have EA Replay.
Hey, I know.
But what's so special about this EA Replay? Turn it around.
I was going to say,
It's en français!
Oh!
So EA Replay was the last retail release of Wing Commander back in 2007. It's a PSP collection, and it's essentially an SNES emulator that runs ROMs of hacked ROMs, I should say, because they went in and edited the credits to some degree. Hacked ROMs of Wing Commander, Ultima 7, the SNES version, and Secret Missions 1, and a bunch of other EA SNES games.
Mutant League Football!
It's pretty fun to have Wing Commander in your pocket. I'm sure you can do that now easily with any phone, but back then it was super cool having a PSP, and it was released around the world, so there's many different versions of this packaging. I've got the US and the Canadian one already, and I saw this one cheap on French eBay, so I sent for it, and it's a beauty. Last, but also most, we have what looks to be a regular copy of Wing Commander.
Oh,
but
what could it be?
This is another one of those ones where I saw something interesting in the box.
So first I want to say, do we see any strange stickers?
No strange stickers.
We've done this before with the crowd.
Just a Wing Commander 1.
Did you already take the item out?
No, it's in there. So open that up. There it is on top, though.
Oh, hey.
That is
sorry, I can't say
a patch disc for the original Wing Commander. If your joystick wasn't working, you would write to Origin and say, "Hey, jerks, my joystick isn't working," and they would put this in the mail to you. It's just the kind of cool ephemera I love. Nice copy of Wing Commander 1 to trade to somebody in the future. If anybody ever there wants to trade or wants to show off something, let me know. We'll do that. And a cool patch disc. It's my big cargo pod thing today. Cargo bay.
Big cargo bay. That's right. You love patch discs.
I do love patch discs, and they're rare, but no one cares. So that's the best kind of collecting.
Interesting. Yeah.
So,
I've never done a pacifist run through Privateer. I don't know if that'd be really long. If you just did cargo missions, I guess.
Now, are you ready to tell us?
Oh yes.
About the Medal of Honor.
Are you ready to tell us about the Medal of Honor?
Yes,
both
you
of
first.
us have to.
Here, look, it's another edition of Mikhail's Navy.
Where one day we'll have
a piping sea shanty or something there.
Yeah, I wonder. There is a theme song for Mikhail. One day I'll have to get a Hawaiian shirt and one of the big floppy hats like Quentin McHale wears. Right now I just have my Asia Pacific Theater hat because we're talking history. So
first, tell us, why are we talking about the Medal of Honor today?
Well, first, we are talking about the Medal of Honor today because Monday, March 25th is Medal of Honor Day. And the reason for that is because...
open your slideshow, by the way.
Oh, certainly. And the reason that is because the first Medal of Honor was awarded on March 25th, 1863. So, we figured that since, last week we had finished reading End Run, where quite a few people received the Confederation Medal of Honor, and then this week the actual American Medal of Honor Day happening, what better time to explore it than now? Right? And the Medal of Honor has a kind of interesting history in the United States in that prior to its creation during the Civil War in 1861, the United States didn't have an active list of medals it would issue to soldiers for, I always butcher this poor word, meritorious conduct in combat. Typically, you would, Revolutionary soldiers, they were issued medals for their service, War of 1812, but there wasn't, like today we have what's called the Pyramid of Honor, which the top has the Medal of Honor, and then the service crosses, and then the silver, bronze star, and then the various other medals below them. So what happens is in 1861, Congress passes legislation to, quote, improve the efficiency of the Navy. Right? Because what better way to make people work harder than a piece of colored ribbon? Which is a little bit of a riff on Napoleon's famous quote about how men will fight hard for a little piece of colored ribbon. And the Medal of Honor in particular, President Truman used to describe it to every single recipient that he placed the medal around their neck was, I would much rather have that medal around my neck than to be President of the United States. It is the greatest honor that can come to a man. And from my understanding, only one person tried to take him up on that offer, a young man named Jack Lucas, who is the youngest recipient of the medal in the 20th century. He said, okay, sure, and started to take his off and try to hand it to the president in a very lighthearted moment. At the time, I believe he was only 19 or 20 years old, and Jack Lucas is a great story to look into.
Oh, the guy who played Flash in Commander 3?
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's Jack Lucas. Yes, and played the whatever his name was in that other bad movie we always make fun of that I already forgot the name of. Yeah. But so they authorized it in 1861, and then in July of 1862, the Army needs its version, so they authorize an Army version of the medal. And in the first slide here, what we see is this is the original form of the Navy medal. So it wasn't originally worn around the neck. It was attached to a small ribbon, then pinned on your chest. And then if you would switch for me. This is the Navy version with the anchor. So you can see that it changes the design a little bit. Right? In the middle, it still has the goddess Minerva, and it's a 5-pointed star. And in the Navy case, it's hung by an anchor, right? The Army case, it has cannons. So what would happen is that they create the conditions for awarding it, and then a time will go by. Right, it's not, the award is created in 1861 and 62, but they're not first awarded until 1863, when what's called the Andrews Raid goes down into Georgia, and essentially they steal a train. They steal a train, and then they go on a 90-mile chase with the Confederates behind them, and they're destroying the railroad tracks as they go. And this becomes this grand chase with the Confederates after them, and eventually all the raiders are captured. Some will be exchanged through prisoner exchange. This hat's making me itchy. I don't know why. Exchange. Some will escape, and others will be executed, including the leader of the raid, James Andrews himself. But as a result of this action, President Lincoln will then authorize the issuing of the Medal of Honor to these men, and the very first person who will receive it is, if you will change for me, is this gentleman. This is Jacob Parrott of the United States Army. Private Parrott is the first man to ever receive the Congressional Medal of Honor for his service to the United States. He, along with 5 other members of the raid, all received the medal, although the leader of the raid, James Andrews, does not receive a medal because he was a civilian scout and not a member of the Union Army. Although he was actually executed as a spy by the Confederates, so he doesn't actually live to see the day. So during the Civil War, though, the United States will issue 1,523 medals to Union troops. And because it was the only medal that was around at the time, we sometimes gave it for reasons that today would certainly not pass muster. The entire 27th Maine Infantry Regiment received it because they extended their enlistments. So congratulations, you signed up for another 2-year hitch. Here's a Medal of Honor. Okay, that's not the best. All of President Lincoln's funeral guard, so those who guarded his casket, they all received the Medal of Honor for their service. Those are not exactly how we would consider reaching the requirements.
It was more like a door prize at that time.
Oh yeah, I mean it got pretty bad. But we also see some civilians receiving it. Buffalo Bill Cody will receive one. One woman will receive it during the Civil War, who I'll talk about in a little bit, Mary Edward Walker. She's a Union surgeon, and she receives her medal for service in the medical tents during the war. 32 African Americans will receive it. The very first will be this gentleman, if you would switch it for me. This is William Carney. Now, he's a member of the 54th Massachusetts Volunteer Infantry Regiment. So if you've ever seen the movie Glory, at the very end of that movie, when they're storming the fort in South Carolina, that is the Battle of Fort Wagner, which is where Mr. Carney will receive the Medal of Honor. What happens is that the flag bearer for his unit is shot and killed, and Carney grabs the flag despite having a number of very serious gunshot wounds himself. In that picture, you see he's leaning very heavily on that cane, and the flag kind of hides how much he's doing so, is that he's shot multiple times, but he does not allow the flag to touch the ground. And later he famously says, "Boys, I only did my duty. The old flag never touched the ground." And he receives his award in 1900, 37 years after the war, which is very common for the Civil War. About 50% of all those medals of honor were awarded at least 20 years after the fact. So it's not terribly uncommon as they went through the process.
But you had that whole gilded age of former military people politicking and...
Yeah, you had some of that people promoting for, or sometimes it just takes its time to work its way through and things of that nature. But they certainly went out of the way. I mean, our friend Round Top, right? Joshua Chamberlain, he doesn't receive his until the 1890s.
Well, he was a good salesman of.
He may have been
Joshua Lawrence Sam story.
Yeah, when you're an English professor, you know how to write. You probably a little bit, right?
I noticed we went to Gettysburg recently, and they really dialed back on the Chamberlain.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's not in the video in the Technodrome or anything.
Oh, interesting. I guess we're moving away from the Chamberlain love. Oh, that's too bad. Now, throughout the rest of the century, like Wolf was saying, they would award the Medal of Honor for combat in things like the Indian Wars out west, incidents in the Caribbean when we go over to other islands. But it was also unique in that the United States Navy awarded the Medal of Honor not just for combat, but for non-combat actions. So if you save someone in a crazy drowning situation, you could receive the Medal of Honor for that act. And what happens, though, is that by 1916, it's starting to become clear to people that we're maybe being a little bit too liberal in how we're handing these things out, and maybe we should do a review. In particular, at the Veracruz occupation in Mexico, an event we've almost totally forgotten about, I feel like, in American history. The Navy handed out about 80 of them for an event that the Marines only received about 10 or so. So it was really strange. So in 1916, they have this big review. And Congress establishes what's called the Medal of Honor Review Board, which is tasked with investigating all of the awards to ensure that they meet the distinguished conduct that they're seeking for the award to have. Right today, the Medal of Honor, you think of it like you had to do something insane to earn that distinction and receive the award, right? Mm-hmm. It's always something crazy. Every single story I've ever read, like putting this together, my hardest part was like, oh, that's a good story. No, I can't include it. Like, no, I can't include that one. No, I can't include that one because there's so many of them to tell. So what happens is they go through all 2,625 awards at that time, and they put 5 generals in charge, which you can switch for me, please, with this gentleman in charge.
That man looks like he's in charge.
And he is. That is Major General Nelson Miles. And if you notice, the first award you kind of see is his Congressional Medal of Honor, almost in the middle of his chest, which he put there on purpose because he was so proud of it, he wanted you to notice it. Which also means that in the 2,625 medals they were reviewing, his was one of them. Now, in order to prevent bias, right, because they were never out to get anybody, right? They wanted to really go through this and ensure that those who received it deserved it. And they removed everybody's names, and they numbered all of the citations instead. So it'd be, number 1 did this.
I'm thinking of nothing so much as those, like, cootie catcher things girls in elementary school do.
Sure.
And they'll tell us who you have a crush on. Like, 5.
Red, yes. Certainly, yeah, I remember those. I have no idea you fold those things, but I definitely...
Only women can do it.
Yeah, that's one of those weird things that that happens. So they go through this, all the numbers, right? And eventually, and they're going to make sure that it all meets the letter of the law. So what happens... Out of the 2,600, they decide to rescind 911 of them. That includes the entire 27th Maine, Lincoln's Funeral Guard, Buffalo Bill Cody, and Mary Edward Walker, the only woman to receive the Medal of Honor. And she said, "That's great, don't care." You need to... Yeah. And what Mrs. Walker did is she wore the medal every day for the rest of her life. You can see it here. In the past, right before they put it on the neck, it was worn on your chest. And here you can see her medal adorned from her shirt. Now, in 1977, the more I looked into this, right, the story was that President Carter had restored these awards. And actually looking into it, that's not the case. It actually seems like legally her award and Buffalo Bill Cody's are not actually back on the books. The Army Board of Review unilaterally restored the medals, which is probably illegal, but we've kind of just let it slide. But Miss Walker and Buffalo Bill Cody technically are now members of the Medal of Honor roll. But what happens is after this, we pass a law in 1918 which creates the conditions for today. There are essentially 3 ways in which you can receive a Medal of Honor while engaged in action against an enemy of the United States, while engaged in military operations involving conflict with an opposing foreign force, or while serving with friendly foreign forces engaged in an armed conflict against an opposing armed force in which the United States is not a belligerent party. So that's like the Flying Tigers, the Eagle Squadron with the RAF. They would be eligible for the Medal of Honor in American service because they were fighting for a non-enemy of the United States.
So that would cover like the guys in Strike Commander.
Well, they have to be in the service of the United States, though, too. You have to be a member of the military.
So, like, when the IRS hires me to bomb Rhode Island,
sure,
I could get the Medal of Honor for that.
You technically could if you do something that rises to that. Sure, totally.
Is there anything you can blow up in Rhode Island that's worth?
Yeah, I mean, there's some naval shipyards down there in Rhode Island. There's the General Dynamics. They have a sub base there. Right, or actually, that might be next door in Connecticut.
It's
actually,
Connecticut, yeah.
Yeah, so
maybe there's a nuclear station. I feel like there's a mission where you bomb a nuclear plant in Rhode Island or something.
That must not be the best.
Strike Commander's a hell of a game.
That is weird. And so after this, what also happens is the Navy is very adamant about keeping Medal of Honors for non-combat awards. Mm-hmm. And what they do is in 1919 they pass a law that then results in what's not the best piece of American hardware. This is the Tiffany's Cross, produced by the jeweler of the same name. It's used between 1919 and 1942, and it's only used for non-combat things. So this is like Admiral Byrd, when he does his famous flight over the pole, he receives one of these. There are anchors inside them.
Valor on the top?
Yes, they all say Valor, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, usually, and on the backs of them, they'll usually engrave the citation to let you know what it was received for. But yeah, so the problem is right away, what does that look like to you, Ben?
Well, it looks like a cross.
But who else's cross does that remind you of?
It's the Germans.
It's the Germans. And a lot of people did not like it because it does look really badly like the German Iron Cross. Admiral Byrd, who received one of these for his flight over the North Pole, actually had his reissued. So he had his Tiffany Cross turned in, and he was given a regular Medal of Honor later on. Although it's always said that it's not exactly clear why he did this. It seems pretty clear that he thought this was an ugly award, as did most other people. And it actually gets tossed in the middle of the Second World War. But for the most part, you see that a lot of these are worn with that small ribbon. From 1863 until 1944, the vast majority of them were adorned in this way. The Navy would sometimes use neck ribbons. I'm not exactly clear why they would switch between. There are some where, like, Admiral Moffett wears a neck ribbon in the 1930s. Butch O'Hare receives his by neck ribbon in 1942. But that's not standard, because then you can see Jimmy Doolittle's, who gets an Army medal, and his is pinned to his chest by FDR a few months before Butch O'Hare's.
Well, I'll just jump ahead and say we see that at Wing Commander too. When you get your Medal of Honor in Wing Commander 1, it's pinned right to your chest. But when Forstchen describes Bear's Medal of Honor in Fleet Action in this chapter we'll be reading next week,
that's right.
It's the co-ed is
the neck ribbon.
The lady is fixing his neck ribbon.
Yes.
So he describes it like a traditional American one.
Yeah, because that's one of the interesting things, too. The Medal of Honor is only one of 2 awards in the United States that's worn around the neck. The other one is one that is very rarely seen because it's the Commander's Degree of the Legion of Merit. So the only people who would ever wear it are military, so members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, that level of generals. They're the only people who would ever get that and could receive that medal, so you don't really see that a lot. But eventually the neck ribbon becomes a standard one, right? The blue silk we see with the stars. And what will happen is that, of course, right, since its inception, like, everybody who knows anything about military services is that each service is its own, and they don't want to use anything else from any other service, no matter what. So, right, the Army and the Navy, we can't just have one Medal of Honor. That would not be right. We have to have one for each. And of course,
really looking forward to that Space Force now.
Oh, right, yeah. And, well, that's the funny thing, because, what happens is that for a long time, right? So, until the Air Force is created, we have 2 medals, even though we have 4 services, right? We have the Army, Navy, Marines, and Coast Guard. And because the Coast Guard and Marines are themselves intelligent, they all receive the Navy Medal of Honor. The Army folks receive the Army one, but then the Air Force, being the Air Force, having to establish themselves, they develop their own Medal of Honor, and they even mess with it a bit. So if you switch, we'll see all 3 of them here. So it goes, the one under Ben is the Army Medal of Honor, the Navy one is in the middle, and then the Air Force one is on the right. And, yeah, under me. And the difference is that the Army and Navy medals have Minerva. And I just love Minerva, if you're not aware, is the goddess of poetry, medicine, wisdom, strategic warfare, commerce, weaving, and the crafts. What a lady. She does a lot. What does the Air Force do? They switch out Minerva, and that's the Statue of Liberty instead. The woman is supposed to personify the United States on the medal itself. So the Air Force just did what it did, you know. But as of today, as much as I've been trying to accurately count, because we just had an award issued the other day, there are currently 3,506 Medal of Honor recipients in the United States. And with that, I want to provide just a few facts about it. There are 73 living recipients today. Going back to the Second World War, there are 4 living Second World War recipients. The oldest is Robert Maxwell. He received his for actions in France. He is currently 98 years old. The oldest from the Pacific is Herschel Woody Williams. He is 93. And if you meet that gentleman, you will say, there's not a chance that guy is 93. I saw him 2 years ago. He was moving around like a 50-year-old man. Like, there were people getting ready to help him onto the stage, and he like just bounced up the steps like he was a young man. It was insane. But there are also currently 19. Well, there are 19 dual recipients, 14 of which are a gentleman receiving a medal for separate events. 5 of them receive 2 medals for the same event. They actually will receive the Army and Navy medal. These are all prior to 1918, so they get each medal for the same event, which is kind of funky.
A question from chat. What do the stars symbolize? It says too few to be each U.S. state.
Yes, and I actually kept that open because I wanted to make sure, because the stars on
I have a guess right now if you want.
Sure, what is your guess?
There's 13 stars, so I'm thinking 13 colonies.
Yes, I think it is that, because then there's another explanation about, because there's because today there's a flag that they get. They get all these extra things that in the past they did not have. Where, it says...
If you funded a higher tier.
Yes, you would get that. Yes, they are... Yes, it's essentially for the states of the original 13 states.
Yeah, so we have 50 states today. If you're not American, you didn't grow up with it. America started off with 13 colonies, and we added the rest
and
later.
We typically like to represent that a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
The stripes on the flag, the 13 stripes are also those. So.
We did there was a short period of time where we added a star and a stripe right before the war.
Yeah.
The 15 stripe flag.
15, yeah,
that's a weird looking one, right? That's a really, really weird looking flag. We have these 19 dual recipients, which I'm going to talk about a few, because if you receive 1 Medal of Honor, you're already the most badass mofo in the world. To receive 2, it's like... There's words I want to say, but we can't say it on the stream.
I mean, you guys are probably going to be astounded by this, but I personally have never received the Congressional Medal of Honor.
That's impressive. I'm surprised by that. Now, there are 2 father-son pairs. We have Arthur and Douglas MacArthur. Arthur will receive
pictures of these guys?
I didn't know.
Okay.
Of course, I didn't get pictures of MacArthur, so I have an issue with Douglas. Arthur and Douglas MacArthur, they receive it, and then I thought about getting for TR and TR Jr., but the MacArthurs are one father-son duo, and then Theodore and Theodore Roosevelt Jr. are the other father-son duo. Although, it's funny enough that Theodore Roosevelt, the president, he receives his in 2001. And the reason was, and it's a very, if you know anything about Theodore Roosevelt, he was known for having a bit of a mouth. And what happens is that after he comes back, from Cuba, the army is put into quarantine. And they're kept there for way longer than they should have been, so Roosevelt complained. And the Secretary of the Navy said, Secretary of War said, he's nominated for a Medal of Honor, and lost the recommendation. Threw it in a drawer. And when they were doing one of the reviews in the 90s, they found it. He met the qualifications. So in 2001, he receives the Medal of Honor, and he's the only U.S. president to have the Congressional Medal of Honor. But to really show how a full kind of range man he is, he's also the only man to have the highest combat award the United States gives, and the highest award for diplomatic peace, the Nobel Peace Prize the world can issue. So, I mean, you really cannot be a more complete man than that, I feel like.
So if Obama, at some point, for some reason, receives the Congressional Medal of Honor...
Well, he's not that's like a... there's one. So I think it's Brezhnev, who gives himself this kind of. I forget. It's above the Hero of the Soviet Union award. It's only given to Marshal Zhukov and people like that. And he gave himself one. And the second he died, they were like, "Yeah, no, you don't deserve that," because it was about commanding massive operations. Certain number of units and things like that. He just didn't have it.
Why does Brezhnev keep coming up today?
No, he's a weird guy, right? I actually watched The Death of Stalin yesterday because it was on. Again. And there's one uncle-nephew pair, and they're really confusing because their names are Frank Friday Fletcher and Frank Jack Fletcher.
Oh, the guy from Dragnet.
Sure, that's exactly who it is, right? Frank Jack Fletcher is the more famous commander. He's from the Second World War, Battle of Midway, Battle of Coral Sea. And actually, both the nephew and uncle, both Fletchers, they receive it during the Veracruz operation. When we invade Mexico.
That the namesake of the Fletcher class destroyer?
Yes, is Friday. His uncle is the namesake of the destroyer, not Admiral Fletcher that he's there yet. And then I have to do this for all my coastie friends, is if you would change, please. This gentleman is Douglas Monroe, who earlier today I said, "Hey Ben, could this be where Forstchen stole the name from in Fleet Action for the first system?" And then you provided other evidence that said, "Oh, maybe it probably came from there." And we'll save that, I think, a little bit.
Share that when we get
there. Yeah, we'll share that.
It'll definitely be next week, so.
Yes. But Douglas Monroe is the only Coast Guard Medal of Honor recipient, and he receives his Medal of Honor during the Battle of Guadalcanal. What happens is he'll take several landing craft up the coast of Guadalcanal, and it's actually Marine Chesty Puller's unit, and they will land, go back. No, you shouldn't get that jump drive yet. Keep building money.
You're replying to the chat, by the way.
That's
when someone in the chat was trying to at least see if they could buy a jump drive, they'll leave the choices.
Yeah, because I want to get through all this other stuff, because these stories are what I love about this. So in this case, what happens is Monroe, he takes Chesty Puller's Marines up, goes back to Henderson Field, and they're called back saying, "We got to get the hell out of here. There are way too many Japanese here, so we have to leave." And so Monroe and some other boatmen, they go up. And in the process, right, they're trying to evacuate the Marines from the beach. And Monroe will place his landing craft between the evacuating Marines and the firing Japanese, and will use a 30 caliber machine gun to try to lay down suppressive fire, which will allow more Marines to load up to the ship and escape. Although then one of the craft gets stuck, and he again positions his ship between the enemy and the evacuees. And during this time, he's firing his machine gun, and then he's hit by several rounds and knocked unconscious. Eventually, they'll free the landing craft, and they'll start to make their way back. And Monroe will wake up very briefly in the arms of his friend named Evans, who his last words are, "Did they get off?" Right? He wants to make sure the Marines are safe. And Evans said he smiled to him, and he said, "Seeing my affirmative nod, he smiled. With that smile I knew, liked so well, and then he was gone." Right, so and the Coast Guard is very proud of this man. If you ever go to the Coast Guard Academy, which I believe is actually in Rhode Island, if I remember correctly, they have a giant statue to Douglas Monroe there. So what also happens is that, like I talked earlier, they reviewed all of these medals in 1916, and in the 1990s we did all this again because we wanted to make sure that we weren't discriminating against Americans. So in 1993, we had a review that was aimed at looking at African Americans, because not a single one had received the Medal of Honor during the war, which seemed rather odd.
So, no, I'm familiar with America, and I understand that exactly.
Yeah, unfortunately, right? Although I will say, we do tend to do the right thing. We get around to it. We're not always the fastest, I will admit. We can suck on that, but, In this case, though, what happens is that in 1993, they look at this and they find that there are a number of African Americans, after they go through all the award records, and what they do is they take 7 gentlemen who had received the Distinguished Service Cross, which is one medal below the Medal of Honor. Their medals were upgraded to the Medal of Honor. However, unfortunately, only one of them was still alive, and he received his medal from President Clinton in a ceremony. And then in 1998, and you can switch our slide for us.
We Commander fans will remember President Clinton as that guy Bill Forstchen hates a lot.
That's right, and we'll really talk about it next week as we get into Fleet Action.
Yes.
So in 1998, we do another review, this time aimed at Asian Americans. And this review results in 22 medals being awarded to men of the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, which are some of the baddest mofos the United States have ever assembled. What I mean by that is there were about 13,500 men that served in this unit, and they receive over 9,500 Purple Hearts, several thousand Silver Stars, 52 Distinguished Service Crosses, I think 4,000 Bronze Stars. To give you an idea, there were 600,000 Marines in the Marine Corps during the Second World War. Those 600,000 Marines received 89 Medals of Honor. There were 13,500 men in the 442nd, and they received 22. That's a damn good ratio. And in this shot, we see President Clinton awarding the Medal of Honor. That is Senator Danny Inouye, who passed away several years ago. And if you notice, it's very clear that he is missing his right arm. He left that arm in Italy while he was actually earning the Medal of Honor.
He's one of the folks they follow in that Ken Burns War documentary, isn't he?
I believe so. Yeah. What's interesting though is that he actually is right. He's injured. It's a German grenade in the Italian mountains that essentially blows off most of his arm and eventually has to be amputated. And he famously goes to the hospital, and his bedmate is a guy named Bob Dole. And Dole told him, "I'm going to go into politics." And Danny had actually wanted to become a surgeon, but missing an arm, not happening. And Danny actually beats him to the Senate. But yeah, he and his unit are one of the most highly decorated. And then this one is actually from this week. This gentleman is Staff Sergeant Travis W. Atkins, and he was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor for actions on the 1st of June 2007, just the other day. His family was at the White House, so what happens in that case, they received the Medal of Honor inside a frame. They received the flag and the other pins and associated ribbons that go with it. No one but the recipient is allowed to wear the medal. This is a very big deal. I mean, people who try to fake saying they have this are idiots, since it's very easy to look up, but there are still idiots out there that try to do so. But Sergeant Atkins was awarded the medal because what happens was he was in Iraq, and they were ambushed by some insurgents, and he noticed that one of the insurgents in the small area was wearing a suicide vest, so he actually threw himself on top of the insurgent, and when he detonated the vest, Sergeant Atkins shielded his fellow soldiers with his body. And that is one of the ways that I hate saying it like this, but that's a way to almost guarantee receiving a Medal of Honor, is that if you throw yourself onto a grenade or something and you sacrifice your life for others, that's almost an instant nomination in very many cases. And the thing about these recipients, like I say, like all these stories are like so incredible and so amazing. And now that I've gotten all that kind of like teaching context out of the way, now it's like getting some nitty gritty things about this. And one of the things that's crazy is prior to the legislation in 1919, you could receive more than one. So 14 men received 2 Medals of Honor for 2 separate events, which means, wow, like you're a badass. And I chose 3 of these gentlemen. The first one here is, everybody will know this guy's name, and you'll know his older brother, George. That is Thomas Custer, the middle of the Custer's brothers. It's George, Thomas, and Boston. And what happens is that Thomas Custer, and you can see both his Medals of Honor there underneath, pinned to his chest. He receives his medals for actions 3 days apart. He literally does the same thing twice in 3 days. What he does is he charges enemy lines and jumps over barricades, and he captures the regimental flag.
What war is this?
Civil War.
Civil War, okay.
Yeah, so the first time he captures the 2nd North Carolinian Cavalry Regimental flag. And so the regimental flag is a very big deal in the Civil War. Capturing those is like you're capturing the commander's, most prized possession. This is, you having this in your possession means you whipped the other guys very badly. And he'll do the same thing 3 days later, and his colonel describes it to George like this. He says, "I saw your brother capture his 2nd flag. It was in a charge made by my brigade at Sailor's Creek, Virginia, against General Ewell's corps. Having crossed the line of temporary works in the flank road, we were confronted by a supporting line. It was from the 2nd line that he wrested the colors single-handedly, and only a few paces to my right. As he approached the colors, he received a shot in the face, which knocked him back on his horse, but in a moment he was upright in his saddle. Reaching out his right arm, he grasped the flag while the color bearer reeled. The bullet from Tom's revolver must have pierced his heart. As he was falling, Captain Custer wrenched the standard from his grip and bore it away in triumph. So he gets shot in the face. Now, mind you, the shot actually goes through his cheek. So it's a very bloody wound, but not very damaging since it hits mostly soft tissue. And he makes his way back to Union lines where he sees his brother George. And he says to George, "Armstrong, the damn rebels shot me, but I've got my flag." And George orders him to the rear to a surgeon to have his face fixed. Thomas refuses and attempts to return to the lines. And this is despite the fact that one of Thomas's own aides has just been shot and killed in his horse just moments before. And Thomas is trying to return to the front. George says no. Thomas refuses. George says, "Fine, you're under arrest." And he has his own brother arrested and brought back to the medical tent to get treatment. Unfortunately, all three of the brothers will actually die together at Little Bighorn. George, Boston, and Thomas are all there at the final stand and are all killed in that conflict in 1876. Our next guy, Smedley Butler, who with the biggest pain was trying to find a picture of him with actually his medals on. There's a lot of later in life he kind of goes against. He goes from being a very gung-ho Marine to being very anti-war, and famously publishes a book called War is a Racket.
Just like Forrest Gump, who also won the Congressional Medal of Honor.
Yes, certainly, yes. He goes to go on like that, right? Now, Smedley Butler at the time he passed away, he was the most highly decorated Marine in history, and looking at his chest, you can see why. That's a lot of medals he wears. He receives a Medal of Honor first during the occupation of Veracruz, Mexico, and then later during the invasion of Haiti. And his first award is actually kind of a bit odd. What I mean is that Butler himself didn't know what he had done to earn it. He didn't think there was anything in his service in Veracruz where he did not think he was deserving of it, and during the First World War he actually tried to return it to the government. And they told him, "Shut up, wear it, and don't talk about it." Okay. And his action grew out of the fact that many people did think they were issuing the awards too liberally during that action in Veracruz. And the following year, though, the United States undertook actions in Haiti to stop a rebellion there. And during an assault on a fort, Butler will lead his Marines against it and will only suffer a single casualty when a Marine takes a rock to the face and loses 2 teeth. But they will kill all 51 enemies inside the fort, seizing it. And for that, Butler will receive not only the American Medal of Honor, but the Haitian Medal of Honor. And he is just one of but 2 Marines to receive the medal for 2 separate actions. The other being this gentleman, who many people are very familiar with. He is one mean bastard.
Hell of a hat.
Yeah. That is Dan Daly. And to give you an idea about Sergeant Major Daly, I'll quote Major General Smedley Butler. "The fightin'est Marine I ever knew." Now, if Smedley Butler, a dual recipient, is saying that about Dan Daly, you get the idea about this man. Now, he receives his first Medal of Honor during the Boxer Rebellion, during the Battle of Peking, China in 1900, when he single-handedly will defend his position against repeated assaults by hundreds of boxers, not the punching kind. Boxers were a secret martial art society in China that was trying to launch a rebellion against Westerners.
That sounds like a hell of a movie.
It's really crazy. There's never been a movie about, because it's actually a United Nations assault that the Germans, everybody, Japanese, all get together and go invades China to recapture the diplomatic district that the Boxers have taken over. And he'll inflict a huge number of casualties. His second award will come during the Haitian occupation in 1915, where he's actually under the command of Smedley Butler. He was a group in command of 35 Marines, and they were ambushed by more than 400 Haitian rebels. And he's able to lead his group of Marines into position where he single-handedly will retrieve a machine gun while killing 3 Haitian rebels by hand with his combat knife. And that will earn him his second Medal of Honor. But he's actually not remembered for really either one of those events. He's remembered for what he says during the Battle of Belleau Wood during the First World War. Right? So American Marines are holding off German assaults in the French woods of Belleau Wood. And what happens is that Daly is preparing to lead an assault and is reported to have yelled, "Come on, you sons of bitches! Do you want to live forever?" before charging over the top.
Whoa, I'm pretty sure that's from the movie Starship Troopers.
Right? Yeah, I'm sure he stole it. And what's funny is that...
Well, I would say Heinlein absolutely credits that properly because
yes.
he's a veteran himself, and he, Starship Troopers is how to do fascism, and also all his stories, the little anecdotes about American history, military history.
Yeah, and the Marines...
But then the movie is just a line.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the line very well from that. But what's funny is, of course, he's yelling it as in, come on, we have to go die for our country, and yet now he's forever going to live because of that line, screaming, do you want to live forever? And what's interesting is he's actually nominated for a 3rd Medal of Honor for that assault. However, during the process, there were debates, and it was said, you know what? No one should have 3 of these.
Wait.
Yeah, well, you're right. Right? No one should have 3 of these. At that point, we're lessening the distinction and the honor of the award. We want it to be something that's extremely sacred. So instead, what do? If you notice, you can see what they do. He's wearing it. Instead, they give him a Distinguished Service Cross and a Navy Cross. So they give him 2 of the next lower awards in place of the Medal of Honor. And one thing, when I was trying to do this, like I've said, is I was trying to pick and choose stories. And for those of you who are interested, the Pritzker Military Library has a series of podcasts that interviews living recipients and does the stories of the previous recipients in great detail. And listening to those, it's just amazing to hear what these gentlemen did to earn this award, right? Now, this is what, like Ben said, when somebody with 3, this was a problem. Because what I wanted to do was try to find similar stories to our Wing Commander recipients as real-world recipients. And Tolwyn, right off the bat, is a problem, because Tolwyn receives 3 Medals of Honor.
At least 3.
At least 3, we can determine, right? Mm-hmm. Now, Daly is the closest with 3 nominations. Mm-hmm. But when I started, right, he's a Marine, not in the Navy. So I started looking through Navy, and there's only 2 that have kind of similar experience. What I mean by that is Tolwyn receives his first medal when he's still a pilot, right? He does not have flag rank. And both Admirals Fletcher and Admiral Moffat, they will both receive their Medals of Honor while they are lower officers. They are not a flag rank. So Admiral Moffat, if you'll change for us, please. And him, trying to find him with his Medal of Honor on a giant pain. There's only one picture that's really not that good. But in this, you can see right below his wings, there's one ribbon all by itself, and that is the ribbon that that his ribbon marking he has the Medal of Honor. And
of course, he's known for his famous quote, "Bugs Johnny Rico, zillions of them."
That's exactly what Admiral Moffat said. And said, "I think this airship is going down."
Oh, is he that guy?
Yes, he's the gentleman who dies on the airship. Yes. He becomes the head of the Bureau of Aeronautics, and actually it's Dundradal. I'm not a crazy rampant AI from the UIAC marathon, just to be clear. But yet Moffat will actually receive his again for the Veracruz occupation, where he does something pretty impressive. He takes the USS Chester, his ship, inside the inner harbor, and the citation says, for distinguished conduct in battle, engagement of Veracruz, 21-22 April 1914, Commander Moffat brought his ship into the inner harbor during the nights of the 21st and 22nd without the assistance of pilot or navigation lights. One really easy way to get run out of the Navy is to run your ship aground, even in combat. They're going to get very mad at you. Yes, that is Admiral Moffat. And what happened... I just lost my place. And he was in position on the morning of the 22nd to use his guns at a critical time with telling effect. His skill in mooring his ship at night was especially noticeable. He placed her nearest to the enemy and did most of the firing and received most of the hits. So he's really placing... He's doing the John Paul Jones. He's placed his ship directly into harm's way.
Is he the guy who says these airships are a good idea? Is he's the guy who's like...
Yeah, he's
okay.
He's the guy who says the Moffat's hangar. He's the one who wants to use dirigible airships and to kind of to help
the aircraft carrier thing.
Yeah, they have that silly idea for a little while. Yeah, and the problem is a bunch of these airships crash. The Macon, the Akron. I believe he dies on the Akron. And that kind of ends it. Once Moffat dies, it's over too. I mean, he's the guy really pushing it.
For folks who don't know about this, it was the age of at sea they were developing the aircraft carrier.
They were trying to figure it out.
They were trying to figure out how planes would be launched.
Yeah.
And Zeppelins were still a thing.
Yes.
So there was this push in the Navy to do these giant Zeppelins that carried airplanes.
Well, I just thought the audience, and to think of it, the best picture you can get of it is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, when he and his father get off the Zeppelin, and that's essentially what Moffat was arguing for, except his thing had this landing system. It was not a good idea because it's like it's a carrier that can very easily be shot down. It's not a good idea.
I find it very hard to shoot down Zeppelins in Wings of Glory.
That's it. Well, you have to use incendiary rounds. That's why. But those are the ones I best could think of for towing. Now for Admiral Bainbridge,
Zeppelins are back. I saw there's like a Chinese company investing in them right now.
In dirigibles or the ones with ribs or just
actual big airships that are they're like twice the length of an aircraft carrier and they're gonna fly around the world in the future.
That sounds really great in bad weather. So for Bainbridge, that was the toughest one because there are not many flag officers that receive the Medal of Honor. General MacArthur receives it for reasons I will call debatable, because he really doesn't do anything except leave, but the simplest way to explain his Medal of Honor is that we needed heroes in those early dark days of the Second World War.
This is the same MacArthur who gives LBJ a very illegitimate Silver Star.
Yeah, he's MacArthur. MacArthur is both good and bad. In this case, I really don't think, he really does not deserve the Medal of Honor, and it really... But FDR ordered it, and there it goes. So, I started looking more and more, and I did find two gentlemen that are kind of, sort of close, and if you'll change for us, we have, this is Admiral Daniel Callahan. And Admiral Callahan and Admiral Norman Scott will both receive the Medal of Honor for the Naval Battle of Guadalcanal when they're both actually killed in action only a short time apart. Callahan's actually in charge of the force, and what happens is the Japanese are sending an attack down what's called the slot of the Solomon Islands to go bombard Henderson Field, and in the process the Americans have this force to try to stop them, except it kind of becomes a big mishmash. There's very poor radio discipline, poor formation, poor communications, poor handling of the ships. And this all actually leads to the creation of us, the Combat Information Center, in early 1943. And he was actually, because of this, he's trying to command a night battle from the wing of his ship. Mm-hmm. So he's outside on the bridge, and he's trying to do it at night, looking through binoculars. So he can't do this. What he's trying to do is cross the T of the Japanese, and because of how information is coming in, he doesn't know the Japanese are organized differently than he thinks. He will give the very confusing order as he tries to cross the T of odd ships fire to starboard, even ships fire to port. And no one actually knows what the hell that means because none of the ships were given a number before the battle. He's just telling them in the order which you're in line to battle, but they don't even know what order they're in. So and this turns into a barroom brawl. One officer describes it as, quote, a barroom brawl after all the lights have been shot out. So it's just people punching left and right, left and right, left and right. But superior Japanese night fighting, they train for years. They're excellent at this. It won't be until the United States gets a technological edge that we become the rulers of the night, and this time it's the Imperial Navy. And they will absolutely, they'll destroy... many American ships, including Callahan's flagship. And then Admiral Norman Scott, our next picture. He will be killed during the battle as well. What's interesting, though, is his Medal of Honor is actually two actions combined, 1 month apart, where it's almost the exact same thing. In October, he leads a force that prevents the landing of Japanese reinforcements on Guadalcanal, and he'll destroy 8 ships by crossing the T. And then he will die during the second battle when the bridge of his ship, the USS Atlanta, is destroyed in a broadside. A broadside by Japanese ships. And those are the only two kind of admirals of flag rank that met the kind of Bainbridge for commanding Operation Backlash, because that really doesn't qualify in most cases, because the Medal of Honor is really looking for personal danger in combat situations. But the next ones, this one's the easiest one, right? Jason Bondaversky, Jimmy Doolittle. And here you can see that's President Roosevelt pinning the medal onto Doolittle's chest. And of course, he receives it for leading the raid on Tokyo in April of 1942. funny enough, he actually thought he was going to be court-martialed at first, because he gets to China and he's like, I'm screwed. I lost all 16 planes. All the crews are scattered to hell and back. He thinks he's going to get run out of the service. Instead, they come back, they give him the Congressional Medal of Honor. He's a hero. And eventually he'll end the war by commanding the 8th Air Force. Right?
That's the good one.
I guess so. Maybe one day the Mighty 8th will actually come out for HBO. It's been in works for about 50
It's in production hell right now.
Oh my God, yeah. I used to go to a World War II conference in New Orleans where the author of the book, The Mighty 8th, oh God, Miller. What the hell's Miller's first name? Miller always talks about it and how it's going to be ready this year, and then it never goes anywhere. For Kevin, I was trying to think of what would be a good one for Kevin Tolwyn, and the first that came to mind was Butch O'Hare. That's your cue. And here we can see, in this case, that's Butch O'Hare's wife, Rita, actually placing the medal around his neck, as opposed to FDR pinning it to his chest. And O'Hare receives it for an action that actually, later on, what are you looking for?
I was just checking where we were.
Oh, we're almost done. Don't worry.
No, I'm not worried about that. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't skipping any of these.
Oh, no, I would tell you. I would notice it. Don't worry. I know.
Sometimes the slideshow in OBS starts to skip when you get later in the thing. So I was thinking, yeah.
Gotcha. But so for Butch O'Hare receives the Medal of Honor for defending the USS Lexington during an attack in February of 1942, when he will basically single-handedly defeat an attack by 9 Japanese aircraft, and in the process will shoot down 5. 2 Mavis flying boats and 3 Betty medium bombers. And this is actually a very weird incident because Captain Sherman of the Lexington famously has to get on the intercom of the ship and yell at the crew because they are on the flight deck screaming up at the sky, cheering on the fighter pilots like it's a football game. And Sherman has to remind them, because the war's only a month old at that point. Gentlemen, this is real. Like, this is not a game. Get to your battle stations. And eventually, O'Hare will come back, get shot at by his own ship, which really angers him. He actually goes up and yells at the gunner and says, "Son, if you ever shoot at me again with my wheels down, I'm going to have to talk to your officer," which is a very polite way of saying I'm going to kill you. But he, unfortunately, himself will be lost in November of 1943 when he is shot down by Japanese during a night action. For years, it was thought he had been shot down by friendly fire, but recent scholarship has shown that he was actually shot down by the Japanese. And if you've ever been to Chicago, you've been to his airport that everyone hates. Where you can go see a Wildcat, though.
His wife is a legitimately pretty lady for a historical photo.
Yeah.
Usually when you look at like old photos of this age, you're like, oh,
it's one of 3
this
varieties.
Seems like the past. This is my grandma, but she seems very modern.
Well, yeah, he was a very interesting fellow, Mr. O'Hare.
There's a question from chat about Doodle's Raiders. Is it true that the USSR got one of Doodle's bombers and reverse engineered it?
Yes. So of the crews, a bunch make it to China. 2 are shot down over Japan, and 1 goes to Vladivostok, where they become guests of the Soviet Union for quite a long time. Because most of the time, when you're a guest, I don't think you have to escape from your guest's hold, right?
Yeah.
But yes, the Soviets tried to, because they landed in Vladivostok. There's a bit of an issue with that.
Because the Soviet Union is not technically at war with Japan,
correct, yes.
So if they had been bombing Germany, they would be fine.
Well, even then it'd be frowned upon. The Russians they did not like when we tried to have these combined operations. But yeah, they will take the data from the B-25 and try to do some reverse engineering. Their most famous reverse engineering, though, is of course the B-29, which the Tupolev 4 is very clearly a B-29 without question.
And that was a bigger deal because at the time that was how you delivered an atomic
bombs.
bomb.
Yeah, that was your way you got your bombs across the ocean. Mm-hmm. Now, this one was actually something I discovered this afternoon. Well, I was trying to think, who can I find for Colonel Merritt? Like, who would Merritt be? And then I started reading and it came to me, and I felt stupid because I knew this gentleman before. And that would be this person. This is Major General Merritt Austin Edson, commander of Edson's 1st Raider Battalion. Interesting. Things are lining up all of a sudden. Now, and Major General Edson is also a very interesting guy. He starts off, he enlists in the First World War. He fights in France and Germany. In 1922, he goes to flight school and becomes a naval aviator. which he never really uses, but he has his wings.
Mm-hmm.
At the start of the Second World War, he's put in command of the Marine Raiders, and he'll take 1st Battalion to Guadalcanal, and they'll become Edson's Raiders.
The Raiders, these are ground troops.
These are essentially the first special operations forces used by the United States, definitely, yeah. Their role is very similar, like we see in End Run, where they're the kind of the tip of the Marine spear, right? And what will happen is at the Battle of Bloody Ridge, or Battle of Edson's Ridge, essentially 800 men of the Raiders will face off against elements of a 6,000-man Japanese division and will annihilate it. They will absolutely and totally destroy these Imperial forces for only 59 men lost. So the Marines hand it to the Japanese in this case. And during the battle, what earns Edson the Medal of Honor is that he's repeatedly jumping from position to position. He engages in hand-to-hand combat at times, and he is directing his men in the best way to defend and hold the line. He'll actually also receive a Navy Cross for actions a few weeks earlier on Tulagi, which is the island across the Iron Bottom Sound from Guadalcanal. And today, as we move toward the end of this, today, if you live in South Carolina near Patriots Point, where they have the USS Yorktown, the Medal of Honor Society is building their National Medal of Honor Museum at Patriots Point in Charleston, South Carolina. And it's partly open. I think they're still kind of raising money for things. And slide. And I wanted to end on this. Only because I was reading my home state newspaper today, and it had a story about this gentleman.
Christopher Waltz.
This is not Christopher Waltz. This is Britt Slabinski. Now, Britt, he was a Navy SEAL, so he's a special operator. I didn't mean to sound like that, but what happens? The reason he was in
that sounded like an '80s
I don't know where that
special operator.
I guess you're supposed to just. I don't know where that came from either. That was weird. But the reason he was in my home state's paper in New Hampshire was that Sig Sauer has their factory up there where they build handguns, and they gave him a special version of the sidearm he's used his entire naval career. And one of the things is that, you know, over my historical career, I've read a lot about Medal of Honor recipients, and they all tend to have this very similar idea that the medal does not belong to them. None of them will say it's me. You'll never hear me, I. It's always we, us. And I pulled a quote from that article today from Mr. Sablinski that says, "The medal represents the very best of who we are as Americans. My name is on the medal, on the back, that tells you a little about what I did, but nothing of consequence is ever accomplished alone. And the DNA of so many others is embedded in that medal. There were those that died that day, those who were wounded, and everyone who fought that day. That medal really belongs to them." And that's a sentiment you see with almost every single one of them. They'll all talk about their friends, whether they're there, you know, especially today because we're seeing a lot more living recipients from the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. People like Dakota Myers, right? They'll talk about this, how, you know, they were not alone. They did not earn this on their own. All of them worked together. And then as a final bit, I wanted to make sure we also represented, there's no slides for it, represented our other nations of the world's highest awards. England has the Victoria Cross, which is, they are very, I don't want to use the word stingy, but they give it out very rarely. It's about a decade older than the Medal of Honor, but there have only been 1,355 recipients compared to the 3,500 Medal of Honor recipients.
And jumping ahead to Wing Commander, in fact, Admiral Tallman also has a Victorious Cross. It's listed in his medals at the start of action stations.
Yeah,
we don't know when it was awarded, but he does have a Victorious Cross.
Yeah, where he gets it from, who knows. France has the Legion of Honor. Germany today has the Cross of Honor for Valor. And for our Russian friends, they have the Hero of the Russian Federation, which is just replaced Hero of Soviet Union, right? But, so that's the real world history of the Medal of Honor.
So I figured I would run you guys through the Wing Commander history, because that's the part of the show I do.
Because of course we thought, how can we work in real world history? No?
Yeah, because
and this is one of those things that, you know, you'll often ask me I'll get this random message like, hey, is there one of these things in the world? And I'll be like, hold on, give me 5 minutes. And it's like, yes, he clearly got that from here. Because this is one of those things that I love doing about this is, trying to find the real-world connections, the inspirations, and the accidental connections that I can say are real that aren't really real.
So let me start off by showing you the actual medals from Wing Commander. I think probably pretty much everyone out there is familiar with the Medal of Honor equivalent's first appearance, the Pewter Planet in Wing Commander 1. It's been referred to by a whole bunch of different names across the continuity, including the Medal of Valor, the Senatorial Medal of Honor, the Intercongressional Medal of Honor, and the nickname from the very start is established to be the, quote, Pewter Planet. So here is what it looked like. This is the original sketch of it from Claw Marks. Nice sketch. It's got Saturn on it. Yeah. And again, this one just pinned to your chest. Here's the actual sprite from the game, which looks quite interesting zoomed in. It's either sparkly or maybe it has a confed jump point cross there. Who knows?
I think that's a pixel sparkle. I'm not...
And here's the colored in sketch. This is from the Super Famicom manual for Wing Commander 1. And here it is colored in from the what is this? The one we just saw, the Sega CD, or the Mega CD version of the manual.
Yep.
Here we have the Super Wing Commander version, which does look more like it's like a neck thing.
Yeah.
The Super Wing Commander medals are very sparse and kind of Soviet, like a lot of things in Super Wing Commander.
I feel like that's a ribbon bar with then a ribbon holding a little thing?
You would think, but it's not, because the ribbons are separate in the metal box.
Oh, interesting. So it is bigger?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here it is from the card game. I think this is the penultimate appearance of it. Again, we have that same Valor slogan on there, just like the real Medal of Honor.
Yeah, and all the real ones have that at the top, you see.
Mm-hmm. And they have replaced they did a very literal pewter planet. It's a pewter representation of Earth with the Confed logo in the very center, rather than that futuristic Saturn thing.
Blank planet.
And finally, Wing Commander Prophecy has this version, which is what you are awarded at the very end when you finish the Wormhole Gate mission. And again, it's one that goes around the neck, and it looks super Soviet. In fact, I would not be surprised if there is some actual Eastern European medal that this is.
Yeah.
So if anybody out there is an expert at identifying such things, let us know.
I have a friend who his Facebook, everybody has their thing. Mm-hmm. He does the what he calls the ODM of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Which is every day he explores a different metal.
That's cool, though.
Yeah,
send this to him, see if he knows what it is.
I will do that afterwards. Yeah, Mark will be all over that.
So, in Wing Commander lore, according to Claw Marks, the Medal of Honor is given, quote, in consideration of valorous service to humanity, which is pretty broad. Yeah. It is very similar to the U.S. Medal of Honor in some ways. You can see visually, and certainly in the stature it has. It's the top medal in the Confederation. But it also has some differences. It's similar to the German Knight's Cross, in that it has more...
It has accessories.
It has accessories. You can be awarded the Medal of Honor with diamonds, which we see in End Run. Mm-hmm. There is an equivalent medal for civilians, which is the Medal of Freedom, just like there's an actual Medal of Freedom that's awarded by the President, which you win at the end of Privateer. What else? And then the Tri-System in Privateer, which is a totally separate government, and we'll examine that in some point. Also,
don't open another debate on that right now.
You're not going to open that debate right now. We'll get there.
Yeah.
It awards what is called the Distinguished Medal of Honor for, quote, conduct above and beyond the call of duty. And we'll find out about how we know that in just a minute. And final picture of a medal itself is the Kilrathi equivalent. It's called the Icon of Sevar. Again, this originates from the card game. The card game used these medal awards that you could tap and put on players to add abilities.
Yep.
So the Kilrathi equivalent to the human Medal of Honor card is the Icon of Sevar. There's also a lesser one that is equivalent to the Silver Star. That's the Icon of Glory. So those are our Wing Commander medals. And I'm going to walk you through some of the Wing Commander heroes who historically won these medals. We don't have as much information on them as we do on actual people. Not one. You wanted to point this out.
Yes, this is something earlier today we were talking about, and it's something that Medal of Honor recipients are very sometimes touchy, is that if you notice when I was talking, I never, you earn or receive the Medal of Honor, but it's not something you win. Like, there are no Medal of Honor winners. It's given in the name of Congress. So they're receiving it as, from the government. So they take that as, because nobody goes out to win these things. No, because nobody wants to be in a situation where you could receive a Medal of Honor for it, because it means you're in a very bad place at that moment. But yeah. And this was the fun part, though, looking at how...
So here is...
Like, I'm curious what... You didn't tell me about what you did for some of them. You just told me that you did it.
Oh, I just have placeholders moving around my face.
I thought they're fun ones.
Serious fun.
Oh, okay, good.
So Admiral Tolwyn, of course, you all know Malcolm McDowell character from Wing Commander 3 and 4, and Martin Davies in Wing Commander 2. He has been awarded at 3 points in Wing Commander continuity the Medal of Honor that we know of. So that's one more than any of the historical people.
Real world equivalents, yeah.
So he is awarded the Medal of Honor at the end of Action Stations, the 6th Wing Commander novel, for his pretty desperate flight against the Kilrathi at McCullough. If he's at the McCullough ambush, he has no experience. He has not gone through his flight training, but he still gets in a fighter and...
Fights alongside
over and
switches. What's he do? Like 3 or he does 4?
Yeah, it's constant sorties until he literally has to be dragged out of his fighter and have surgery performed on him because he's so badly wounded.
Right, yeah, the last time, that's right.
So it's a very traditional Medal of Honor sort of.
That's that without question. Yeah, that gets a stamp of approval.
So at the end of End Run, they are at the end of End Run is the equivalent of the Civil War because they're handing these things out like candy.
Yeah, very much.
He is awarded the Medal of Honor with diamonds, Medal of Valor with diamonds. When we do not have any further explanation of what the with diamonds means, but I guess it's a notch higher or something.
Yeah, I'm assuming because like you mentioned the Knight's Cross, their things is after you get your Oakley cluster, then you then get diamonds. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I could see that if we did have something for multiple Medals of Honor, that the second award would be the addition of diamonds to yours.
And then finally, he was awarded the Medal of Honor for his defense of Earth in 2668 in the novel Fleet Action, where he commanded the very desperate ragtag fleet that fended off the Kilrathi supercarriers. It is said that when he committed suicide, he had 2 things on him, which was his flight wings from when he was right out of the academy, and the medal that he was awarded for the Battle of Earth. Yeah. And there's this very excellent line in Action Stations in the prologue where they explain that, and they say, "Troubled soul, rest in peace." And we will have to do Tolwyn versus MacArthur at some point, because Forstchen uses that explanation for him, and there's a lot to go into there.
Yeah,
but next up is his nephew, Kevin Tolwyn. He received his medal for unspecified actions between End Run and Fleet Action.
Which is weird, because he kind of deserves one for his actions in End Run.
Yeah.
That mission with Doomsday, the last Alpha Strike.
So we're told in it's the Wing Commander 3 novelization, Blair has an internal monologue where he notes that he received this Medal of Honor for his actions on the Tarawa.
Mm-hmm. I'll told him we'll get to that. You keep going. Don't worry. I just didn't want to set you off track.
Right. Next up, going with our End Run, everybody got a medal. Jason Balderevsky was awarded...
Bonesky,
Mr. Bonesky. He received the Medal of Honor not for constantly shooting me in the back in Gora Car, but for taking command of the Tarawa and fighting his way through the Kilra.
And that would be certainly a commander level Medal of Honor. Because earlier before the stream we were debating the second one with Tolwyn, where he's bringing the Concordia, and you were saying, I was saying, no, they're tough.
So we have Jim Merritt from again from End Run. He receives his for commanding the 1st Marine Battalion through the action at Kilra in End Run 2667. A placeholder is the fouled anchor logo. Fleet Action explains that the fouled anchor pin is what Marines use in Wing Commander. And I mean, it is in real life too, but I found one without the USMC logo.
I was going to say, it's pretty good to find that without that. That was good.
So Admiral Bambridge, Wayne Spencer Bambridge, the overall guy on the top of Confleet, but also a fighting admiral. I just gave him the Confed logo because we don't have an official picture of him. He may be the green man we see in Wing Commander Academy, but it's not confirmed.
Okay.
That guy's only identified as the Academy Commandant, even in the script. So, still waiting to figure out that one. But he, in addition to Tolwyn, he receives this for Operation Backlash, which is End Run, the overall battle, the battle with the Karathi of Vukartag.
Yeah, which is he would probably receive he should receive a Legion of Merit for that instead of a Medal of Honor. Unless he was in some type of crazy action. Ooh, look at that mean mofo.
Next we have Vance Richards, Tolwyn's squadron leader at McAuliffe. We don't know what specifically his Medal of Honor was given for. It's not mentioned that it's mentioned only in a list of awards in the introduction of Action Stations. So it just happens to say that he has received the Medal of Honor, but he fought the entire war and then in the piece afterwards, so there's plenty of room in there.
Yeah, I would say any of his flight missions with Tolwyn during McAuliffe would be one, and maybe when Kruger stole the ship out of him.
That's one, yeah.
That's one.
Here we have, this is Tyra Hunter, and you will absolutely be forgiven for not knowing who that is.
Yep.
She was to be the lead character in Privateer 3, the Privateer 3 that came very, very within weeks of them shooting the film stuff. That was 1998, and it was the era of Tomb Raider, and everyone was like, oh, let's have a female lead, and they were going to do a female-driven Privateer. If you did that today, people would sure complain, but back then it was a pretty good idea.
Sure, as long as the pixels were in the right places, I guess, for some people.
So she had this fantastic bit of lore in her description, which was that she had received she's a Terran Federation Marine fighter pilot, who has now drummed out of the service and is a privateer. That was her backstory. And she had this great capsule description that she received the Medal of Honor while serving with the 82nd Spacecraft Wing. And I love that so much that when I got to do the novel, the
Star Soldier.
Or thank you,
you're welcome.
Yeah,
that's
we're
what
at
I'm
the
here
point
for.
where my brain is mushy.
Both of our brains. It is 3.5 hours.
So when I got to do Star Soldier, I was like, oh, I'm going to make her canon. She never got to have her actual story in the Wing Commander universe, so I added her to the timeline.
You did a great job in that, and giving a lot of those things their due.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to give fictional characters who don't exist their due, but I like it. It's something I can do. I can't save the world in any other way, but it was an opportunity.
But you can give us Tyra Hunter.
Next up, we have Ramona. Nope. Nope, I got mixed up. Ramona Shakova from End Run again, or Milk Run.
Milk Run.
In fact, she does not receive the medal in Milk Run itself. It is mentioned only in this article in the Karathi Saga manual that describes the events of the story. So, so Ramona from Milk Run, who we all hated and then respected at the very end, did get the Congressional Medal of Honor, Senatorial Medal of Honor.
And definitely, her action is 100%.
Next up is Doomsday, who we saw earlier, of course.
Hey, guys.
He received it for his flying off the tower while during End Run. Also, I think this is the last of the End Run super winners. Although you pointed out earlier, Grierson absolutely should have gotten one.
Oh, yeah. 100%, because what he does is literally what Commander Ernest Evans does at the Battle off Samar. Turns around the USS Johnson and charges into the mouth of Japanese battleships, just like Grierson charges into that cruiser and carrier. Yeah, he really,
And, of course, the man himself, Christopher Blair, or HOTSHOT, or Kyle Starbuck, or Prankster, or Dipstick, or whatever. Yeah, Dipstick.
PC name.
He receives the Pewter Planet canonically twice. Okay. The first for Venice 4 and Wing Commander 1, which is the star mission where you single-handedly destroy the star... Not single-handedly, Hunter's there. But you destroy the starbase at the end, win the Vega campaign. And I have the citations for him, which I've copied out. So it's leading the forces of the Confederation against the Empire of Kilra, taking a decisive role in the Vega Sector campaign, and commanding the squadron which accomplished the pivotal victory in the Venice system on or about 2654.287. These dates are accurate, by the way. And the second Medal of Honor, which is given to you in Secret Missions 2, because one of the huge complaints after Wing Commander 1 was you couldn't save your game once you got your medal. Because it was at the very last mission. So when you transfer your character, you have to do it from Venice 3, so you don't get your kills or your medal from Wing Commander 1. So at the end of Secret Missions 2, still thinking that the medal system would persist into Wing Commander 3, they give it to you in the penultimate mission, which is one of the final for Rekka
You mean Secret Missions 2?
Secret Missions 2, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And that one was for, quote, leading the forces of the Confederation against the Empire of Kilra, taking a decisive role in defending our Phureka allies, and leading our forces to victory over the Kilrathi in the Antares sector, on or about 2655.295. There's a third opportunity as a player if you want to win the Medal of Honor in Wing Commander 1. Hell's Kitchen 4, if you play it, if you score all the kills and also have all the aces still alive so you can kill them in that last mission, you can score enough medal points to get a third medal. Of course, those missions were not canonically flown by Blair. Yep. Canonically, the aces were not actually there, so it did not actually happen. But if you want to be a triple Medal of Honor winner, that's the way to do it.
So that is way. So you can. Can you get all three of them in one playthrough?
No, you can't get all three in one playthrough.
So you can't.
It's one or the other.
Yeah, I gotcha. Sometimes that's how it is with medals, you know.
And finally, for the Confederation is Lance Casey, who we mentioned earlier. He's given the medal for.
I love the picture you chose.
It's the only picture of Casey there is. No.
The rest have been scrubbed from the internet.
No, he is given the Medal of Honor for destroying the Wormhole Gate, killing Mark Hamill. We'll talk about that later.
I mean, that's one of those ones that because it's early in the Phylum War, he would probably receive it. Where if that happened later on,
yeah, they thought it was the end. They thought he had won the war.
Because why shouldn't Blair receive it for destroying a planet, 2 planets?
He might, but Blair may have a dozen of them.
And I get the bad feeling that's it's one of those things where they because they don't have the service crosses, so it's like Medal of Honor for everyone. Fortune clearly doesn't care.
So I have 2 others who are not the Terran Confederation Medal of Honor, but first we have Slade Tex Carver from Privateer 2.
You said that with an interesting accent.
Well, he's an interesting guy because obviously the Tri-System is a culture that has existed 2,000 years separately from Earth, so why is his nickname Tex? But he's essentially the Rambo superhero military character. If you read the manual that comes with Privateer, the guide to fighting is by him, and little introduction explains, it lists all his medals and says he's this elite part of a Black Watch regiment. He's the best of the Tri-System. In fact, one of the greatest things that Privateer 2 does is establish all this continuity that's utterly meaningless just in little throwaway lines.
Yes.
But we have this mention that he is a war hero for, quote, surviving the one-way ticket torpedo run during the Scatterbelt Wars. The only living recipient of the Golden Cluster. All this wonderful nonsense that gives you a history for the Tri-System that we don't really have elsewhere. But he's commander of the Black Watch Regiment of the CIS Space Marines, the Central Intelligence Service Space Marines, however that organization works out. And in fact, if you play through Privateer 2's BBS missions, there is a point where you will receive an SOS message from him, and he says, my entire regiment's been wiped out by these pirates. I have to get revenge. I'm going on a suicide mission, and I need someone to cover my tail. And there's a whole mission where it can go through. If you are continually successful, there's this whole little story. And Privateer 2 is brilliant with this, because there's so many tiny stories that you don't appreciate ever. An average play, there are almost 300 missions in Privateer 2, and you play a couple if you ever. So there's this whole story where you escort him to attack these pirates, and you take out a whole bunch of them, and if he survives to that point, he says, okay, you've done enough, kid. I'm going to go on ahead. And there's this extra little part where he goes on ahead and he drops off some a memento to bring to his daughter, and it's just fascinating what they did with those text messages in Privateer 2. And last but not least, Grayson Burroughs, who receives the Terran Confederation Medal of Freedom for destroying the Stealth-Tech drone.
Are you insane?
And he is, of course, not at all plussed about that. And then, then Admiral Terrell reads him the credits. So those are our 11 Wing Commander winners.
Do you think that the Wing Commander recipients also get the same kind of cool perks that the real world recipients get, like a boost in pay, ability to wear retirement, have everybody salute them first?
I don't know. I mean, maybe
that'd be kind of interesting, right?
Yeah, that's cool to see.
That's one of those things where one of the very, very few instances of where a superior officer will have to salute a lower ranking officer or enlisted man first is if that person is wearing the Medal of Honor. So a private will get saluted by a 5-star general, and the private returns it, not gives it. which is, it's one of the many honors they get for themselves.
So that's it for the Medal of Honor. We hope you guys enjoyed that. We kind of threw that together because you were talking about how it was Medal of Honor week, and we like talking about this stuff.
We do. We like combining these things. It's always great when we bring in the real world to see where they get their inspiration, because it makes it come more alive and see that it's not just people. How did they come up with all this stuff? They cheated. We're all inspired by stuff we love.
So as we prepare to sign off for this week, which, again, we've gone 3.5 hours.
You said 2. He said.
I said it would be 2 hours.
He said we're not even going.
We're trying to get this shorter. I promise. We're having too much fun.
We really. Well, the thing is, I think we like to stack things. That
we start off a week and we're like, oh, let's do one thing, and then we come up with 50 other things. And
actually, before I almost forgot one final question from the chat that was asked. I told you not to do at the time. It says, do we know why uniforms in Wing Commander 2 are more elaborate than those of Wing Commander 1? Not only tall ones, but those of the pilots.
It's purely a conscious attempt to change the aesthetic. Wing Commander 1 had what folks who worked on it described as this very anime aesthetic, and it was, robo-techy, the 80s anime that was available to Americans at the time, and there was a conscious effort at Origin to pull back from that.
Okay.
So you actually had an art director in Wing Commander 2, and it had more of a cohesive, let's do our own thing. So it was this attempt to get it sort of its own thing rather than a mishmash of, here's the Gunstar from this and the uniforms from this. I love the Wing Commander 1 look, though. I think even today, it comes off as very 8th Air Force rather than anime. I don't see anime when I look at Wing Commander.
No, I see. I mean, the face is maybe a little bit, but the uniform, it just, to me, it seems like it could be your standard military overalls.
Yeah.
It doesn't, nothing really kind of gets crazy there.
So before we jump to Clyde, I would like to say, first, next week we're going to be reading Prologue and the first chapter of Fleet Action and discussing them.
Yep.
So read those in the next week if you haven't already. They're tremendously fun. There is so much there. We're going to have a hell of a time unpacking that. That'll be a 4-hour show alone.
I know. I'm debating whether we should, that show is going to be Small Talk, News Burst, Gorkar 2D 5 times, Cargo Bay, Book Club. And probably not. And even then, it's still going to be probably 4 hours. You're right. Damn it.
But before we get to Clyde, I noted something you were talking. Your quote at the end from the Medal of Honor about how nothing of consequence is accomplished alone. So I wanted to again take a moment to thank some of the folks who make this show possible. Not that this is of consequence. This is us having fun, and it's just tremendously enjoyable. But I want to thank specifically Mike Trillian Gallagher, who's our producer. He does a fantastic job of keeping things in order, and I am computer stupid, and he is constantly helping me figure things out. I want to thank Chris Reed and Chris Van Heck at WC News, who do the far less sexy updates. They keep things running. We are dilettantes. We kind of go where the wind is and have fun, and they put up with that, and they keep things running. So thanks to them. I want to thank Alexis, my wife. She's not just the woman who advertises Iron. By the way, Iron is amazing. She helps keep this all together and puts up with this. So thank you, and everybody else who has written in. I was laughing at our jokes for some reason.
Yes.
So I want to thank everybody who subscribes and who writes in. I can't express what, it's purely enjoyable. They say don't read the comments. We haven't gotten any bad comments because it's all good people who are interested in this.
Yeah.
Who else would watch a 4-hour Wing Commander stream every week? But it's a joy. It's like my heart sings a little bit whenever I see somebody saying something in the comments. So thank you guys.
Yeah, that's why I constantly have to kind of push him out of the way sometimes because then he starts trying to read them as he's trying to do something. That's what I'm here for, man.
Thank you guys for coming out.
Yes. We're always so happy to see everybody, and it's always a lot of fun for us. We have fun doing this. We have fun doing our promos. Everything is just a ridiculously good time, and we're glad that other people enjoy it with us.
We're going to go check out the new Discovery. So have a good time. Here's Clyde.
Our crew is certainly having trouble with those antimatter guns. But what is antimatter? Antimatter is a concept in present-day physics that any particle matter may have a corresponding particle of antimatter. Those particles have been observed naturally in cosmic ray collisions and radioactive decay, and have even been created in particle accelerators. Still, there's a lot we don't know. The vast majority of the observable universe has been identified as regular matter, leaving scientists wondering, where's all the antimatter hiding? One thing's for sure, it isn't shooting down any sabers quite yet. See you on the next exciting episode of All Wings Considered.